I'm gonna tell y'all the best motherfucking beef jerky I've ever had. I just got this motherfucker out of feeder supply. Woo! They got the best beef jerky. Baby, want some?
Damn, no, it's a doggy treat.
What?
It's a doggy treat.
Not a fucking doggy treat. Oh my
God. Oh man, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Spann Report podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann. This is episode number 338 of the report. And yo, man, I found one of my partners sent me that shit on Instagram, man. Shout out to my man Al. Shout out to my boy Cliff, man. Shout out to Cliff because they be sending me shit all the time on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram a whole hell of a lot, and usually like I find a lot of funny shit. Generally because of them two niggas right there. Like they constantly sending me stuff through Instagram, like instant messenger and shit. And if I need to find some funny shit, trust and believe I could just kind of go through the archives of the shit that these niggas have sent me, and I'll find some stuff, man. So shout out to them. And I think I got that one from the homie Cliff, man. Real talk. But yo, man. It's episode 338. We took a week off because your man Spann, went to Chicago last week. And we're going to talk a little bit about that trip to Chicago here in a minute. But, of course, before we do that, I got to remind you guys here how to get in touch with your man Spann here at the Spann Report podcast so that your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit up the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. This area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages, and of course, those voicemail messages will get played here live on the show, responded to in kind. And if you're watching us here live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch, you can chop it up with us live as we do on the show, man. So hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails, and of course, those emails will get right here and reply to here live on the show as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So you go ahead, follow me there, chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, hit us up on iTunes and or Stitcher Radio with a 5-star review. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, man. Just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network, man. Real talk. Also, go to our website, www.thespannreport.com. You can go there. You can watch replays of the show. You can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network. Trust and believe it, we do. Also, we got a store, man. You can go there, copy yourself some merch. Man, get yourself a face mask, get yourself a tank top, get yourself a hoodie, get yourself a t-shirt, get yourself a coffee mug, get yourself a mouse pad. We got a bunch of stuff over there, man, with some, with some Spann Report, sort of, vibes going on with it. So go ahead and hit us up and, kind of help us out in that way, man. We really appreciate everybody who does that. And when you do get that stuff and you wear it and you got the stuff, man, just go ahead, share it on social media, let everybody else know where they can get it, right? So that would help us tremendously, right? We appreciate everybody who does that. And also, I think that's it. I think we got the business up out the way. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. How y'all been, man? It's been a couple of weeks since I talked to y'all, man. And the last time we were on the show, man, we had, Rod and Karen over at the Black Guy Who Tips. They came and visited with us and brought their comedic observations here with us, and we appreciate them, man. Real talk, real good folks, man. I've been a real big fan of Rod and Karen, man. We've known each other now for over a decade now. It's kind of crazy how this podcast and stuff kind of brings folks together, and it was good to have them on the show last week, man. But yeah, man, there's been a few things happening since your man Spann been on the mic, man. I had some stories that probably won't make it. Didn't make the cut because it's been 2 weeks, you know what I'm saying? And the shit's kind of dated, man. But one story that has been like, kind of one story that has kind of outlasted its motherfucking usefulness. At least I thought this wasn't going to be a thing for as long as it's been a thing. But Kwame Brown, we're going to be talking about Kwame Brown on tonight's show, man. And we got some other things like with Dwayne Wade and, Bill Cosby's in the news, man. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, man. Real talk. So we're going to get right on into it. But before we do that, of course, y'all know your man Spann had some things he was thinking about. And I feel like I need to share these with y'all because I know I'm not the only one who has these experiences, man. Sometimes y'all thinking about this shit too, and y'all just need somebody else to verbalize and articulate the shit. So I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the guy for y'all, man. I'm going to put this out here. I'll take the hit if it's some fucked up shit, right? I'll take the hit for y'all. Because you know what I'm saying? I'll be that martyr like that. I'll be that martyr. Right? But no, man, I got a couple random thoughts, man. And this is one of the things I've been thinking about, right? And I say this as someone who creates or produces content, has videos on multiple platforms and stuff like this. And I'm also saying this as someone who hates fucking ads, man. But Am I the only one when you watching a Facebook video and like the ad comes on while you're watching the Facebook video and you just turn that motherfucker right the fuck back off? Like, I can't be the only one, man. Facebook got to know. Like, Facebook, see, this is the other part about this, right? So I'm one of those people who, like, you know, and Facebook will start serving you ads for shit you didn't even know that you needed an ad for. You could just be like in passing talking about some shit with your wife in the car or something, and I'll be goddamn if you ain't finding a damn ad for whatever the fuck it was you was talking about in the damn ads. Like if my wife was talking to me about like ant traps and shit, right? Talking about an ant trap. Okay, I'll be damned if I don't get ant traps in my damn in my news feed, right? So how then is it that when you're watching a video, they don't understand that when y'all turn these videos on and you put your ad right smack dab in the middle of the video, like say if I'm watching some comedian shit, right? I'm watching the comic do their thing. And then the fucking Facebook algorithm just throws an ad in the middle of the punchline. Like, that's bullshit, bro. Now turn me off on the whole thing. I don't even want to watch the video. I go to YouTube where I don't get ads because I'll pay to not watch the shit. I got YouTube Premium. I got Hulu Premium. Like, I don't get ads on my shit. So, like, to go to Facebook, and you just like, you can't even escape the shit. They don't even give you like a skip ahead or whatever. Like you got to watch the first 5 minutes, the first 5 seconds of the fucking ad. They don't even give you the damn option to skip that shit, right? At least on YouTube, man, back in the day, they used to give you the skip option, right? So you like, all right, man, you can watch this ad for first 5 seconds, then you go ahead and just skip the ad, right? They don't even give you that option on Facebook, bro. Y'all need to fix that, man. Y'all really do. Y'all be banning motherfuckers for a whole bunch of other shit. Ban these damn aggressive ass ads. How about that? How about that? You are tearing down the user experience. So I need them to get that shit together, man. Real talk. And I got James in the chat room. James says, especially when it cuts in halfway through a creator's line. Man, that's the worst. That's the worst. You be sitting up here listening to a comic, like doing some shit, and like all of a sudden you get an Arm& Hammer commercial. Like, come on, bro. Come on, man. What are y'all doing? So Facebook, y'all are terrible with that. Y'all are very terrible with that. Stop that shit. Your users are like annoyed. Highly. I'm one of them. Thank you. And you know, like another thing I was thinking about, man. This happened while I was in Chicago. As a matter of fact, I was in Chicago last week to celebrate my grandmother's 85th birthday. Granny would have been 85. Now, of course, you guys know Grandma, she passed away last year. And we still, dealing with that loss of the matriarch of the family, the oldest person in the family. And I am one of those folks who is like trying to I'm one of those folks who really are like trying, like, I realize now, man, like we are the old heads in the family now, right? Like you remember when you was growing up and shit, and like you used to go to like a family reunion or whatever, and like you always had like those eclectic ass uncles and shit, and you had your cousins and shit from down south or your cousins from out west or whatever. Y'all would get together for family reunions or whatever. Y'all would stay with each other during the summer or whatever. You might stay with your cousins that stay down south during the summer, or they might come up north or out west or wherever your family was. Man, y'all spent that time together. Y'all had family reunions and whatnot. And my family is kind of broke out. Right. So we got family down south. We got family out west. We got family up here. I'm the only nigga left in my family in Michigan. And, yo, man, it's like one of those things where like I'm like with my grandma leaving, with my grandma passing away, I'm really trying to like embrace the idea of family and, our responsibility to keep family and shit together. Right. But there was an instance, man, that had me questioning the whole shit. Man. So one of the things we did when we was in Chicago is, my grandmother, every time I would come home to Chicago, one of the things that we like to do is we would go to this one place on 116th and Western called Loom's Pancake House, for anybody who's familiar with it. Shout out to Loom's Pancake House. I really fuck with them. They really good. Really, really good. And me and my grandma, we would go there. We would try to go every time I came home to Chicago. That was one of our things. We actually kind of started that tradition of us going as a like me and her date when I went away to college. And man, like we went to Loom's. I took my daughter and I took a couple of my younger cousins. We went to breakfast and stuff like that, man. And it was on this damn trip, man. It was on this trip to Loom's that I found out that my daughter, she likes sugar in her grits, man.
Well, that'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, man. Fuck your boy up, man. Fuck me all the way up, man. Sugar in the grits, man. I am a savory grit motherfucker over here. I believe that you should only have, like, let's see, salt and maybe a little bit of pepper. How you know, I don't really need pepper in my grits, but I don't knock y'all who got the pepper in the grits, right? Salt, cheese, butter. That's what you need, man. That's what you need. Salt, cheese, butter, and the grits. Those good grits, right? You don't like her grits didn't even have no color on it, bruh. How you gonna eat grits with no color in it, baby? Like, come on, baby, don't do them with that grits. That's them good grits. Them good grits. You can't do that to the grit, baby. But she was fucking them grits up, man. So apparently, like, she enjoys the shit, and you know, despite my my protest, my daughter didn't give a goddamn, and she ate her grits the way that she ate her grits. But yo, man, I can't lie, you man, Spann was kind of fucked up when I found out that she liked them damn sugar grits, man. You know, she liked them sugar grits. I don't know where the fuck she got it from. I know where she got it from. She got it from her mama, but you know, still, we gotta, you know. Got to teach them well and let them lead the way, I guess. But I ain't been teaching my baby apparently because she don't eat the sugar. I mean, she don't eat the salt and the cheese and the butter, man. Like, what the fuck? Eat them pasty ass grits, man. I don't get it. Another thing that kind of happened while I was in Chicago, man. I kind of alluded to this on social media. I had an experience, right? So again, one of those things about going home to Chicago when you know, like, you got your spots, man. You got your places that you want to go when you first touch down. Like, it's a thing, like, right? So like when I go to New Orleans, man, one of the first places I like to go is Dini's Seafood in the French Quarter when I go down there, right? Get the seafood platter or whatever else. Like, that's the first place I like to go when we go down to New Orleans. And so when we go to Chicago, you know, first place I really want to go is Harold's. You know what I'm saying? I want to go give me some Harold's chicken, give me a half white with catfish with mild sauce. You know what I'm saying? So I tell him, like, you know, me and my daughter, we checked into the hotel or whatever. And, you know, I called my people like, yo, like, you know, well, actually my aunt called me and was like, yo, y'all probably gonna stop on the way to get y'all something to eat or whatever. What was y'all getting? I was like, yo, we was talking about getting some Harold's, right? So there's a couple Harold's nearby my grandmother's place. So I was thinking about maybe going to 83rd and Ashland. And my aunt was like, nah, they fell off. You don't want to go there. They done fell all the way off. You don't want to go there. And I'm like, damn, for real? She was like, yeah. So I said, well, shit, what about the one on 87th and Vincennes? She like, nah, they fell off too. I'm like, you trying to tell me all these fucking Harold's and fell off? Now, the other part about it, the one I would normally go to would be on 87th and the Dan Ryan, but that motherfucker ain't there no more, right? So I can't go to my normal spot. I can't go to my normal spot. So I'm like, all right, then. So what are my options, right? I can't go to my spot. What are my options? And so my aunt was like, yo, there's another place. It's called the Chicago Chicken Coop. They better than Harold's. They taste like Harold's better than Harold's. I was like, taste like Harold's better than Harold's? Right? Like, all right, then I'm gonna fuck with this because you said to fuck with this. You know, y'all in Chicago, y'all would know better than I would because y'all here and I ain't, right? I'm gonna listen to my folks, right? So my aunt says, well, I'm gonna go ahead and place the order on the DoorDash or Grubhub, whatever app it was she was using. Ask me what I wanted. That way I can go just pick the stuff up on my way to grandma's house, right? So, all right, cool. So I get there. She was like, well, making sure you go inside, check and see if they actually got the order. Cause it's been a couple times where I ordered on this app and they didn't get the order or whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool. I go in there, ask them, did they get the order? They told me, yeah. And then they told me it was going to be like a half-hour wait because, you know, they frying chicken. So I'm like, all right, cool. No problem. I'll go back in my car. I'll sit and I'll wait. Right. So I'm in my car, I'm sitting there waiting, and me and my daughter, we, you know, just kind of talking or whatever. And there's this lady sitting in the car, like right next to us and shit, right? She's sitting in a like a Jeep Compass or whatever. And like, we don't know this lady. Like, we don't know her from a can of paint. Like, she just sitting, like, just idly just sitting there. I'm thinking she's a customer waiting on her food too, right? Wrong. That ain't what it was. So apparently, she's like a spotter for the restaurant. So, and I didn't know this. I'm not privy to this and none of that, right? I didn't even know this was a thing. Didn't even know this was a thing. So, remember, I told y'all, I went inside and I asked the lady, I said, listen, did y'all get the order? And how long is it going to take for us to get the order? She told us it's going to be 30 minutes. All right, cool. 5 minutes later, this lady that's sitting in this car next to us is like, yo, y'all food ready? And I'm looking like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, y'all food ready. They just called me to tell me that y'all food was ready. And I'm thinking to myself in my head, I'm like, nigga, what kind of funky ass setup ass shit is this, right? What kind of setup shit is this? Like, why in the fuck would this restaurant be calling you on your phone to tell me that my food is ready when I just talked to this lady 5 minutes ago and she told me it was going to be 30 minutes? So I pretty much ignored this woman, right? Because I'm like, I don't know you. I just got finished talking to that lady inside. She told me it was gonna be a half hour, and here you is 5 minutes later talking about my food ready, right? So me and my daughter, we sitting in the car, we just sitting and we waiting, and 10 minutes later, the woman from inside that I talked to come outside with an attitude, talking about y'all lucky I'm being nice, bringing y'all food out here and shit. This woman told y'all food was ready. And I'm like, nigga, why in the fuck am I gonna listen to her? I don't know this lady. I don't know, like, what kind of fucking rinky dink ass shit y'all got going on here. So she had our food. Like, the shit was legit. The shit was legit. But I was like, I'm confused as hell because she come out mad in the motherfucker that I didn't listen to this strange ass lady telling me my food was ready. Like, I didn't just get to finish talking to you, right? So we get to the house. We get the food. We get to the house. Got to make sure the shit is right? Because like I said, this lady told us it's going to be 30 minutes. It came out in 10. Right? So we got to make sure the shit is right. So we get the food or whatever, and I'm eating it. And got to say it, man. Got to say it. Shit was not as good as Harold's. Yeah, man. Harold's to me right now is still undefeated, man. I'm sorry. Like, I love you, TT, but that Chicago chicken coop, that it wasn't the business. It really wasn't. And it was the catfish really for me. It was the catfish. Like, the Harold's catfish is like different. Like, I know, like, I could get this shit, like the catfish they was selling at this damn Chicago chicken coop. I can get that at any fish and chicken spot here in Detroit, man. It ain't the same, man. Like, you know how long it took for me to find a catfish or like a spot here in Detroit that had catfish steaks, man? Like, for real, when you go to get catfish steaks, it took a while for me to find a spot in Detroit to get that. I finally found one with the Fresh Fish House, right? But you go to any of these places like Captain Jay's or Manhattan's and stuff like that, man, they giving you these frozen ass fish fillets, bro. It ain't the same, bro. It ain't the same. And that's what it tasted like. It tasted like one of these frozen ass fish fillets that they sell us here in Detroit. And I don't appreciate that. I was very disappointed in the Chicago chicken coop. They are not Harold's. They can't be Harold's, even with the sauce that they trying to pass off as mild sauce. They ain't Harold's. All right? So, yeah, man, that happened while I was in Chicago, man. That was the thing. Another thing that happened, man, y'all know, like, zodiacs are, like, really popular and shit. You know, like, people talk about these zodiac signs, and, you know, they really believe in the whole idea of, like, the time of the year you were born determines what kind of person you're going to be, this, that, and the other, right? And I mean, there may be some truth to that shit. I don't know, man. I remember going to get like newspapers when I was a kid, man. I would buy a newspaper, and I would always get two newspapers because I always knew if I was trying to read the damn sports section, somebody was gonna roll up on me and, hey, you got that horoscope section though? Like, no, man, here, take this shit, because I don't really want to get rid of, like, stop reading my paper so you can get this goddamn horoscope section. So, but people really believe in that. But one of the things I really noticed, this is something I noticed, right? And I say this, no disrespect intended for all of you people who are not this, right? But apparently Gemini's, like, their season, Gemini season's got to be the best season, right? And I say that because generally when I see people talking about zodiac seasons or whatever, it's usually the people who are part of that group who are announcing that it's their time, right? Like, yo, it's Leo season, time to turn up. We in the building, you know what I'm saying? Like, Scorpios, we out here, you know what I'm saying? Turn up, we the best, yada, 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 right? It's usually people of that group that are talking about their shit popping up. But with Gemini season, when Gemini season comes around, we ain't got to announce shit. Because the rest of you motherfuckers is announcing that these Geminis is coming, baby. The rest of the, I've seen it, man. I've seen the Gemini hate all, like, y'all. I mean, real talk. Like, I see the Gemini hate, but y'all know y'all love us, man. Y'all know y'all lives wouldn't be as interesting if it hadn't been for us, man. I mean, let's just keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck, man. Like, y'all love us, man. So, like, I get it. Y'all want to talk shit. Y'all want to preemptively talk shit, but really y'all are expressing how much y'all love us, man. Because we just take that hate and turn it into love, man. Because that's really all it is, man. You got to turn that damn frown upside down, man. Stop. That hate don't look good on you, baby. It don't look good on you. So I appreciate y'all for announcing the fact that it is our season. You know what I'm saying? Because we already knew that, you know? And I kind of feel like, you know, the reason why y'all have to be so boisterous is because y'all know other people just don't care. No, I'm bullshit. I'm bullshit. I'm bullshit, man. No disrespect. I mean, I'm talking cash shit right now. But yo, man, that was one of the things I was thinking about. Real talk. Another real like random thing I was thinking about though, and this will be the last random thought I got. But yo, shout out to my folks who, man, like the people who would like use their remote start on their car to warm their car up in the wintertime, but they don't think to use that shit to turn the AC on in their car in the summertime. Like that's the thing, man. You know you can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like you get in your car in the summertime, it's hot in the motherfucker in your car. You're like, God damn, man, I gotta hurry up, turn this damn AC on. When you could have used the AC, you could have used the remote start in your car, turn the AC on, and it'd have been cool when you got in that bitch. The same way it'd have been warm in the wintertime if you'd did the opposite way. Like remote start works all year long, y'all. Like I don't know why folks thought that the remote start shit was like seasonal, but the remote start works all year long, man. You have the permission. Spann has given you permission to use your remote start all year long, man. And that has been my random thoughts. And it's time for us to get into the news, man. All right. And we got my man James in the chat room says it's just folks choosing their teams at the end of the. I mean, I get that, man. It's all love, man. I'm just talking shit, man. But you know, like when the thing is, man, when you talking shit about us before our shit get here and we ain't said nothing, it's like, all right, man, well, damn, like, can I announce my shit? It's like your birthday coming up, but you don't get a chance to announce your birthday because everybody else is announcing your birthday. You're like, damn, man, like, damn. I mean, I had plans, but shit, now you motherfuckers kind of usurp my shit. You know what I'm saying? Y'all excited. Y'all way more excited about my shit than I am. That's kind of how it come across, man. That's all I'm saying. I'm just talking shit, man. And y'all said, I miss Harold's. The only regionally known chains out here is Ezel's and Heaven Sent, both founded by the same dude, and it doesn't compare. Is the one on Wabash still open? I have no clue, man. I had no clue. There's so many Harold's. And that's the other thing about the Harold's Chicken in Chicago, man. Like there's so many different Harold's Chicken spots that some of them ain't even really legitimately like Harold's Chicken spots. Right? There's so many knockoff Harold's spots in Chicago, man. It's crazy. Chicago has a lot of knockoff shit, and Harold's Chicken is one of them, man. You got to like make sure you go into a legitimate Harold's, man. But yeah, man, appreciate that. And Raynell's in the chat room, one of my homies, man. He's like, yo, yes, cheese, butter, salt. Indeed. He grew up right. I know that because I know him. So there we go, man. But yo, we here in the news, and unfortunately, we got to start off the news on some bullshit, man. Some real sad shit that happened over the course of the last 2 weeks since I last talked to you guys, and that is the fact that there was a mass shooting that happened in San Jose, California. Now, apparently, the guy who executed on this mass shooting had a really large cache of weapons at his home. They're talking about he had over 25,000 rounds of ammunition, Molotov cocktails and shit. There's a video attached to this. So let me go ahead and pull up this video so that you guys can watch right along with me. Hold on. Let me make sure I do this right here. Let's see. Let's share that. Whoops. All right. And I believe it's this tab here. All right. Let's see what they're talking about.
Discovery, an extensive arsenal of the man who shot and killed 9 co-workers in San Jose. ABC 7 News reporter Amanda Del Castillo is live outside the VTA rail yard tonight. Amanda, among the weapons, we're talking about 25,000 of ammunition.
Dan, 25,000 rounds of ammunition, a dozen guns, Molotov cocktails, and more. All of this separate from what Samuel Cassidy brought onto that VTA light rail just behind me Wednesday morning. And earlier today, investigators at his home even detonating what they initially believed was a suspicious device. A small explosion to signal the safe detonation of what was initially thought to be a suspicious device found at Samuel Cassidy's home Friday. Investigators revealed the VTA gunman had an arsenal of weapons. It's evidence that remained even after the mass shooter simultaneously set his home on fire while he shot and killed 9 of his coworkers at this VTA rail yard Wednesday morning.
There was a pot on the stove at the residence. The stove was likely turned on. Inside the pot, they located ammunition. Around the pot, there was accelerants.
Along Angmar Court, neighbors were surprised to hear what was hiding next door.
I didn't expect that they have all the stuff inside, though. You know, I thought it was just a normal person. So I just found out. I was a little scared. Now I'm safe.
According to the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, investigators uncovered an estimated 25,000 rounds of ammunition, a dozen guns, and 17 Molotov cocktails. They say Cassidy's guns weren't locked away, rather stashed near different doorways in various parts of his home, ready to use.
If he was to be contacted by someone else or law enforcement, he would have access to those weapons at various areas of the house.
But how does one person amass such an arsenal without raising flags? Taking into account the 3 semi-automatic weapons and 32 magazines full of ammo Cassidy had when he opened fire on his coworkers.
The weapons he purchased legally, we have a record of, but magazines you can purchase without registering.
At the rail yard, 11 miles away, Cassidy first killed several coworkers in one building, then was seen on this surveillance video, calmly walking over to a second building where he murdered several more. Now, the FBI, who is also assisting in this investigation, says evidence collection teams are still hard at work at that VTA rail yard, I should say. They'll remain here in the days ahead. In San Jose, I'm Amanda Del Castillo, ABC 7 News.
All right. So there's a few things that I kind of wanted to address here. The first thing is, y'all know how I get down. Y'all know how I feel about the Second Amendment. The fact that he had 25,000 rounds, I do feel was a bit excessive, right? And I say that, like, here's the thing, like, I want to say since the pandemic started, also when you combine the pandemic with what was going on with the racial reckoning after what happened with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the social unrest that was happening across the country, you saw a lot of people buying new firearms, buying up all the ammunition. There's still an ammo shortage right now. And there were some folks who were trying to take advantage of that. I remember when I had bought a gun last year, and of course, like, ammunition is a bit scarce around the country. And I remember going into a Dunham's, and they had a few boxes of 5.56 rounds for an AR-15 on the counter, and they would only sell you three boxes. And there was this guy who was there who was asking folks, he was asking them, he's like, "Is this all y'all got?" And he was like, "Yeah, this is what we got." And he's like, "Well, that's okay. I got 15,000 rounds at home." It was like he was really proud of the fact that he could tell everybody else that he got 15,000 rounds at the crib. And I'm thinking, I kind of rolled my eyes, but at the same time, I'm thinking maybe he's trying to sell this shit, right? The other thing is, when they start talking about, like, having semi-automatic weapons, I really need to, like, when you hear these words in the news, when they start talking about semi-automatic weapons, what that means is you pull the trigger once, you get one shot. So if you have a revolver, guess what that is? A semi-automatic weapon. If you have a pistol, that is a semi-automatic weapon. And so when we start talking about these things in the media, I want us to be clear as to what those terms mean, because they'll throw these terms out there as if to make it, like, scary, right? However, I do think it was excessive for that dude to have that much artillery and that much hardware, right? Like, I don't know anybody who really needs all of that, right? Now, I've previously been on this mic and I've said, like, sometimes when it comes to my firearms or whatever, I'm not necessarily concerned about what you think I need for the protection of me and mine, right? I make that determination. Now, he may say the same thing about how I feel about the fact that he had 25,000 rounds and all those guns. I think that's excessive, but that's me, right? I think that's excessive. The other thing was with the magazines, right? Like, he had magazines. You can buy magazines. You don't have to register magazines. Like, having magazines, which is just an apparatus that you load into the firearm in order that holds the ammunition, right? You don't have to register those. You can buy those in bulk, right? I think the thing is the fact that he was able to obtain a lot of this stuff legally, and he was able to use the law, like the laws that are in place, to kind of amass all these things, especially out in California, which has some pretty stringent gun laws out there. Like, there are certain limits as to what you are supposed to legally be able to buy. Like, if you had an AR-15 in California, you can't have an AR-15 with a 30-round magazine, which is pretty standard in a lot of other places. But in California, you can only have a 10-round mag, as my understanding goes, right? And truthfully, like, again, like I said, a lot of what he had was excessive. The other part about it is like some of the ways in which the ball was dropped in regards to like his previous statements about him wanting to kill, him wanting to go out and kill his coworkers, and no one being able to respond to that. The fact I've heard this guy had like, I saw a story earlier this week where they were talking about he had been flagged by the Department of Homeland Security for having terrorist materials from a trip from the Philippines or some shit like that. Like that should have thrown up some red flags to where maybe he doesn't get passed through on the FBI background check. Like, wait a minute, this guy, he has some interesting sort of things going on. We might want to take another look at this before we decide we're going to approve this gun purchase. So the laws on the books should be applied, right? I think sometimes, man, like we got a lot of laws. We have a lot of gun laws in America. Sometimes the gun laws aren't necessarily applied in the ways in which they should. And unfortunately, if we're going to keep it a buck, when it comes to like the gun laws, really, we know who they were meant for, right? We know who they were meant for, right? Like, and especially when we start talking about gun control, a lot of those laws were meant for us to keep us from having these guns. But with all of the gun laws that are on the books, I would like for them to actually apply these motherfucking laws, because they make no damn sense for us to have all of these laws and we don't apply them. And we didn't apply them in this particular instance because this guy was able to amass a large cache of weapons. He was able to amass a large cache of ammunition. And he used that cache of ammunition, and he also had animosity and expressed animosity towards his coworkers, verbalized that shit. Nobody reported it. And like there was so many balls dropped here, man. So many balls dropped here. Now, do I believe that there should be some form of gun control? Yes. Do I believe that there should be a limit on the amount of guns that somebody should be able to own? I do. Right? Because I'm one of those people who believes that, like, yo, man, at some point it becomes unreasonable. Like I was having a conversation with shout out to my man Jason from the Shop Talk podcast, man. We were having a conversation on that episode the last time I was on there. And, my thing was, at a certain point, your want for certain weapons becomes ridiculous, right? Like, yeah, I have a Second Amendment right to own a firearm, but does that mean I am entitled to have a rocket launcher? Do I really need a rocket launcher? What the fuck do I need a rocket launcher for? Does the Second Amendment right give me the right to have a tank in my front yard? Do I really need a tank that's capable and ready to like tear up some shit? Do I get to have an Apache helicopter just because I can afford the motherfucker because of my Second Amendment right? Like at a certain point, things just start to become ridiculous. And so, like, yeah, you have the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment right or whatever, but like there are limits to that shit too. Just like there are limits on your free speech. You can't go into a damn a movie theater and holler like fire in a crowded theater. You can't do that. You will be held responsible for the deaths of a lot of people if you do that, right? So when we start talking about the Second Amendment, I know a lot of folks get real, like, and I know like the right wing people, especially like a lot of right wing gun nuts and stuff like that, they start acting as if you enact any level of regulation on gun control or gun rights or whatever else, then it's going to come a slippery slope of taking everything away from you. Like, nah, man, some of these regulations are fucking needed. A lot of these gun laws, like these free ass gun laws we had, it hasn't always been this way. This shit is recent. You couldn't just go into a store back in 1995 and buy an AR-15. There was a ban on that shit. You couldn't just do that. There was a ban on it. And you know what, man? A lot of motherfuckers was like able to subsist without having an AR-15, right? A lot of us were able to kind of get by without that. Now, at 15, I was like, in 1995, I was 15. I didn't even have a desire to own one. But I'm just saying, man, like we act as though these things have always been this way, and they haven't always been this way. And they don't have to be this way. And so when I see a mass shooting happen, I'm like, man, fuck. As a gun owner, I'm like, man, fuck. Because again, I know that the conversation is going to start at, the nuance starts getting out of the discussion. We don't talk about the gray areas and the people who do own these weapons who don't do a goddamn thing with them other than go to the range, maybe do some target shooting, maybe do some sports shooting, maybe do some competitive shooting, maybe do some hunting with their rifles, maybe use these rifles for home defense, whatever the case may be. We start losing sight of all of that shit, and we start talking about these mass shootings, which are happening far too frequently. Far too frequently. But I just kind of wanted to I want us to like not forget the nuance around this. This guy here definitely, if I don't even know if this guy is still alive or not. But if he is, this guy should never see the light of fucking day again. Right? And if he got killed, that was probably his motherfucking modus operandi anyway. He probably went into that knowing that this is what he wanted to do, and he was going to do suicide by cop. Right? The unfortunate thing is some innocent people had to lose their lives because so many of the laws that we have in place weren't being enforced, and it allowed for this sort of situation to happen. So, yeah, man, it's unfortunate, man. And again, like I said, I'm somebody who believes in the Second Amendment, but I also believe in reasonable Second Amendment rights, man. Like at a certain point, shit becomes unreasonable. 25,000 rounds, bro. Like, do you really? I mean, come on. What are we doing? What are you preparing for? Right? So, yeah, man, that's in the news. Another story. I'm sorry. We got some people out here in the chat room. James says it's a multi-edged sword at the end of the day. As dated as it is, personally fall under the reasonable man argument. Having that amount of rounds just makes it unreasonable, considering some states like Iowa and Texas are repealing background checks for gun and ammo purchases. There was an op-ed by the guy who wrote the Jarhead that said he feels better walking the streets of Fallujah than in Des Moines because of the new proliferation via the state's post-Trump grandstand. Well, you know what? Here's the other thing too, right? So like ammo purchases, there were never really background checks for ammo purchases, at least so long as I've been owning guns. I've never had to have a background check when I went to go buy ammo. But when I went to go purchase a gun, there have been a couple times where I had to wait 3 days to go back to go pick my gun up. Or I had to, they were running the background check and it took them about an hour or so to figure out whether or not they were going to release the gun purchase to me or not. But to buy ammunition, I've never had to do a background check in order to get ammunition. The other thing too, I know Texas is doing a thing where like they're trying to do away with they're trying to do away with the law that stipulates that you have to have a permit in order to carry a gun concealed, right? They're just doing away with the permitting altogether, just allowing anybody over the age of 18 to walk around with a gun on them. I don't know if that's like, what do you mean? I don't know. I know that's not the fucking smartest thing in the world to do. And especially when you think about what was going on in Texas with the whole like electrical grid this winter, when they couldn't people were burning their own fucking furniture because they didn't have heat and they didn't have lights and shit. You would think that y'all would be trying to step up and like make sure that gets taken care of, as opposed to making sure, hey, well, we got to make sure all the 18-year-olds can have a gun on them. Like, come on, man, what are we doing? So yeah, man, that's in the news. And we got another story here. This is actually a pretty happy story, man. I got to say it. I was like, yo, man, like, good news, man. Sometimes we need some good damn news, and we got some good news here because Bill Cosby was up for parole, and I'll be goddamn if the parole board decided to like, you know what, man, we gonna keep your rapey ass here.
Yes, that sounds like an excellent idea.
Yeah, man. So we get this story here. This comes out of FoxNews.com. It says that Bill Cosby has been denied parole and will not be granted a release from his post at SCI Phoenix in Pennsylvania. Cosby, 83, has served more than 2 years of his 3 to 10 year prison sentence for drugging and molesting Andrea Constand, whom he met through the basketball program at his alma mater, Temple University. The disgraced actor and comedian had a parole hearing on May 11th, and the Pennsylvania Parole Board decided that Cosby had not yet met the requirements that warranted a release from prison. The board determined that Cosby failed to develop a parole release plan and needs to participate in and complete additional institutional programs. He also received a negative recommendation made by the Department of Corrections. Now, how you going to the parole board and you out here fucking up, guys? Come on, man. Come on. Not the beacon of respectability. The beacon of respectability went to prison and he acting a fool. Come on, man. And you thought you was going to get out early because you cause. Okay. All right. It says, and at his next parole hearing, the board will review and consider whether he was successfully completed a treatment program for sex offenders and violence prevention. Cosby must also receive a favorable recommendation for parole from the Department of Corrections, and the board will determine if he has maintained a clear conduct record for the duration of his incarceration. Reps for Cosby said the statement obtained by Fox News on Thursday that news of his parole had been denied by the Pennsylvania State Parole Board is not a surprise to Mr. Cosby, his family, his friends, or his legal team. It was brought to our attention by Mr. Cosby that over the past months, a member of the Pennsylvania State Parole Board had met with him and emphatically stated if he did not participate in sexual violent predator courses, that his parole would be denied. So this motherfucker had to take a class. Cos had to take a class. decided that he didn't want to take the class. And if he took the class, participated in the class, did well in the class, Kai's ass might be out of jail right now. But instead, he decided, man, fuck your class. I ain't doing your class. And he going to be there probably for another year. And all I got to say is,
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No wonder you get D's and everything.
Yeah, man. You in jail for some shit that you did. First of all, you in jail for some shit that you did. But also, you could have got out of jail if you'd have did what the fuck you was supposed to do. Isn't that what Cosby would tell you if you was in the same position? Isn't that what Cliff Huxtable would tell you if you was in the same position? So, like, I'm just saying, man, like, the hypocrisy that drips off of Cosby is fucking thick, man. It's like, it's thick like molasses, man. Like, he got denied parole. He gonna probably do another year. He'd probably be 84 or whatever. And I'm like, I know, like, some of y'all like, man, they need to let that man go, man. He old man. He like, yo, he was an old man. Old people, like, let's do this, man. Being old doesn't absolve you from responsibility of your actions, because there's a lot of you who don't give a fuck about some old people, especially like old Klans member, or like the lady who accused Emmett Till of whistling at her, that caused Emmett Till to be murdered in Mississippi. A lot of y'all can't wait for her to get locked up. Y'all don't really give a fuck about them being old, man. Y'all give a fuck right now because y'all like Cosby. Y'all feel like Cosby raised y'all, but y'all don't give a fuck about them being old. So will y'all please stop with the whole he old man, he ain't a threat to nobody and all that other shit. I mean, y'all don't believe in that. Your actions say that. Like when y'all like, I would like for that old lady who like advocate or better yet, who lied on Emmett Till, I would like for her ass to be locked up too. But you're not about to hear me sit up here and say, well, she old, she ain't a threat to nobody, so therefore she shouldn't be locked up. Nah, lock her ass up too. But y'all be trying to use that same thing to like advocate for why Cosby shouldn't be locked up. Like, man, get the fuck out of here. He did that shit. He admitted to that shit. That was the other thing, man. Somebody said some shit about him going to that class and be admitting he did it. Like, he already admitted to that shit in the deposition. What the fuck are you talking about? You can tell these people never like really followed the case. But that's in the news, man. Another story that we got here in the news is so, you know, the COVID-19 vaccine has been like, you know, kind of ramping up, man. People are back outside, man. People are getting back to some level of normalcy, man. You got, you know, summer camps are opening up. You know, it's the holiday weekend, the kickoff of summer and everything. People are, you know, planning trips, going on trips. Airline prices are through the roof, man, because everybody trying to go everywhere at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And this one woman, though, she is an anti-vaxxer, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the thing. People are out here, you know, anti-vaxxing in the world of COVID. And not only is she anti-vaxxer, but she's also anti-you getting the vaccination too, because this lady decided she was going to drive through a goddamn vaccination site and she ran over a couple motherfuckers, man. Well, she nearly ran over some people. I'm embellishing, but but we get the story here. This comes out of the WashingtonPost.com. It says, as the coronavirus vaccination tent was set up for the hope of inoculating more residents in Maryville, Tennessee, sheriff's deputies working at the site this week saw an SUV speeding their way, and the person behind the wheel wasn't slowing for a shot. Instead, Virginia Christine Lewis Brown was protesting the vaccine by driving her Chrysler Pacifica. The Chrysler Pacifica. All right. At a high rate of speed through a vaccine tent in a small parking lot, police said. No vaccine, she yelled Monday as she plowed through the tent, according to witness accounts to sheriff deputies. Brown, 36, was arrested for driving through a vaccination tent and placing the lives of 7 workers in danger. The Blount County Sheriff's Office announced Thursday she's been charged with 7 counts of felony reckless endangerment. Tennessee attorneys claim each count carries penalties that include a possible prison sentence of 1 to 15 years and a fine of up to $10,000. So let me pull this lady's picture up so you guys can see, because she's actually crying in her mugshot, man. Which you know, like, come on, man, really? You know, you had all of the like energy for what you was doing, but you know, there are tears. Oh, tears. Oh, so sad. Too bad. All right, but yeah, man. So they charged her with 7 counts of reckless endangerment as she drove through a vaccination site. Now, I'm gonna just say this, man. Like I said before, prior, so it's in much the same way. This is the thing that always kind of gets me with conservatives and things like that. Because like even now, it's like a lot of conservative folks who are against the whole idea of being vaccinated and whatever else, despite the fact that we've been being vaccinated to go to school or to work certain jobs or to travel in certain places and shit. This has like been standard modus operandi for decades at this point. But like, you know, and like a lot of these people, they'll try to adopt the rhetoric of, you know, the pro-choice movement, right? When they talk about my body, my choice and things, bro. They're like, well, what happened to my body, my choice? It's like, all right, cool. All right. You know what? I'll give you that. It's your choice to not even take this vaccine. True. Don't even, you know what? My bad. Your choice. You ain't got to get the vaccine, right? But the thing with those folks is that they act as though, well, like, if I can't do it or if I believe I don't need it, then you shouldn't also have it, right? So when it comes to abortions, you don't believe in abortion. That's fine, right? Just don't have one when you get pregnant. Therefore, you've done your part in your pro-choice movement, your pro-life movement. You don't have to have an abortion. Nobody's forcing you to have an abortion. But you therefore then don't get to tell another lady who's dealing with a totally separate situation that she doesn't have the right to get an abortion because you don't believe that she should be able to get an abortion. And this is something similar to this. It's like, yo, so you don't think that you should be able to get a vaccination, or you don't want a vaccination. All right, cool. You ain't got to get one. Nobody's forcing you to get one. Don't get a vaccination. You don't therefore then get to say, well, you don't get to have a vaccination either because I don't believe in vaccinations. Right? And this is coming from the same people who keep telling you that they want limited government. They want the government out of our lives and shit. But then they also want the government to dictate their views on everybody else. Right? It's kind of crazy. Like the cognitive dissonance that is going on with the modern conservative movement and everything else. They keep talking about small government, small regulations, no regulations and all this other shit. But they keep wanting the government to regulate the shit that's in favor of them. They're like that kind of like pulls everybody else's rights back in order for them to feel comfortable. Fuck that. You know? So yeah, man. We got William Chambers in the chat room. William says for him to take those classes, he's already disgraced. That's a pure not. Well, you know what, man? You know, we know that Cosby believes he's above all this shit. So it doesn't surprise me that he wouldn't take the classes. But, you know, like I said, when somebody told me that would be an admission of guilt, I was like, yo, he already admitted to the shit. Like, we already know what's up, man. You've been convicted. You've been locked down now for almost 3 years. So, you know, just kind of get with it. But, yo, man, that's in the news. Another story here that has to do with the coronavirus and, and the vaccine that we have here in the news has to deal with the fact that in, I believe this is in Texas. Yeah, in Houston, Texas, there's 117 staffers at a Houston hospital that are suing the hospital because that hospital has mandated that they need to get the COVID vaccine in order for them to stay employed there. They're suing that hospital saying that they don't want the hospital to make them guinea pigs. So we get the story here. This also comes out of the Washington Post. And it says a group of 117 unvaccinated staffers from Houston Methodist Hospital filed lawsuit Friday seeking to avoid the hospital's coronavirus vaccine mandate, saying it's unlawful for bosses to require the shots. Now, off top, I'm going to just say this right now. If I was in the Houston area and I was concerned about catching COVID-19, Houston Methodist Hospital will be the one that I fucking avoided. Because if these people who work at this hospital talking about, I don't need this vaccine, and they staffers and shit, and they come in and unvaccinated, and I catch the motherfucking vaccine, I catch COVID-19 on account of the fact that this unvaccinated motherfucker decided, like, yo, their choice trumped my health in this particular instance, man, fuck you. I ain't going there, right? Off top. So this can't be good for the Houston Methodist Hospital and the fact that they got 117 staffers. They didn't say doctors or whatever. I kind of wonder what the positions were of the people who were deciding they were going to sue the hospital over something like this, right? And the other thing too, this idea that like, yo, your doctor or your place of employment can't, dictate these sorts of things on you. Like I remember one time, I remember working in food service at one point, man. I worked at like Little Caesars. I worked at like a Arab like lunch bistro and stuff. I worked at Wendy's before, and I remember as part of the like requirements for working there, I couldn't have facial hair. I had to like shave. Like if you had a beard, you had to shave your beard off. Now there's a lot of people who wear beards for religious purposes, right? Now, you have a choice. right? If you're going to work here at this particular restaurant and you're going to be preparing the food, people don't want hair in their food. Sometimes the hair in your beard may fall off into someone's food. They don't give a damn whether or not you are practicing a religion or not. You need to shave your shit, right? Or don't work here no more. Find someplace else to go, right? Find someplace else where your beard is acceptable because, we can't have these health code violations going on account of your religion, right? You are free to choose whatever religion that you are practicing and everything else, but if you're practicing your religion is in conflict with what our health code violations here, our health code stipulations are here in this industry, then you got to find someplace else to work. How is this any different? How is this any different? Right? So we get to, let me further read this. It says the staffers join a growing list of employees challenging compulsory immunizations at businesses, colleges, and other workplaces, essential to the country's reopening. Vaccine mandates have faced mounting resistance from anti-vaccination groups and some Republican politicians, even as health officials promote the proven safety of the vaccines and millions of Americans line up to get shots every week. The lawsuit against Houston Methodist was filed by Jared Woodfield, a Houston area attorney and conservative activist. It appears to mirror a legal strategy used by the New York-based law firm Siri and Gilmstad that is closely aligned with one of the country's biggest anti-vaccination organizations, but unaffiliated with the Houston litigation. Now, I'm gonna just say this, man. The politicization of this shit is just bonkers, right? This shouldn't have to be this. Like this isn't one of those things where, like, this should have never been a thing where, depending on where you laid politically, determine whether or not you will make a smart health decision, right? Unfortunately, this has been made that because of what we had in the White House before and how that was how the science was handled before, or how it wasn't handled before, and so it's become sort of like a political statement to not be vaccinated. You got people on Facebook now, like, you got folks who are like, I don't give a fuck if you got your vaccination. Like, these are things that they put on their Facebook profile pictures now. Like, they're proud to like show your ignorance, right? Like, that's the other thing. Like, people who are ignorant are usually like really proud and loud and shit. I don't understand why, but that's sort of a thing, right? I don't care that you got your vaccination or whatever. And you've got some people who work in the healthcare industry, but they don't necessarily, they're not doctors, maybe not even nurses, but they are, they might have, like, they might be a CNA, they might be an orderly or whatever. But they'll tell you, they can't wait to tell you, I work at such and such hospital and I seen this, that, and other. Like, man, you really saw that from the lunchroom. I've seen, like, I had a conversation with a guy, like, what was that, last year when this shit was popping off, and he was talking about all this healthcare stuff. I'm like, okay, so what do you do? What do you do in the hospital? He refused to tell me what it was he did. Like, cause he worked in the damn laundry room. You work at the hospital, but you're in the laundry room. You don't fucking know. And it's okay to not know. But don't be out here not knowing and then telling other people this shit that you don't know because you don't feel comfortable. Right? It's all right to not know. Just don't be out here loud and wrong, bro. That's the thing, man. Stop being loud and wrong. So, yeah, man, it's frustrating that up to this point, man, like, we've seen people dying, man. Like, I lost 4 people last year. Never getting those folks back. Never getting that time back. We lost so much last year. And to still be here with like these rays of hope, man, and like, kind of get back to some level of normalcy, get back to going on these trips, get back to going to these restaurants, get back to meeting up with family, get back to hugging each other's necks and shit. Like, to be able to do that and to still have to deal with these people, man, on this bullshit is frustrating. Frustrating, man. Real talk, man. Let's see. We got Mike Lover, and he's commenting from YouTube. He says, experimental vaccine, huh? I guess you don't know what they've seen. I don't know what they've seen, man. But I'm also going to tell you this. So the FDA has approved this vaccine for emergency use, right? Now, the thing about them approving it for emergency use is that, a lot of folks don't believe that these vaccines have actually gone through any clinical trials, right? You know that they have to go through at least 3 stages of clinical trials before it even gets to a point where they can actually approve this shit for an emergency usage. The shit's been tried. It's been tried. So I need us to like stop falling for like these anecdotal, like, it's like when with the what was that, when like there was the stories of like the the breakthrough cases of COVID-19 for those who have been fully vaccinated, right? And then like, there's like 100 or some odd people. I think it might have, at one point it was like 153 people had gotten COVID-19, despite the fact that they had been like, fully vaccinated and shit. And then you find out like, when you extrapolate that from the vast majority of the people who've gotten doses who have been fully vaccinated, you're talking about hundreds of millions of people, and you got 153 people, and like the percentage of that is less than 0%. And it's like, they don't really sound a whole hell of a lot like the way that they tried to blow up those 153 out of the millions of folks who got it. You know what I mean? Like, you got a better chance of being struck by lightning to catch COVID-19 after being vaccinated than you do of actually catching COVID-19. Like, it's crazy. So, yeah, man, the fact that they're suing this, like I said, if I'm in the Houston area, don't take me to that hospital, right? Because they got some dumb motherfuckers working for them. And I don't want that. I don't need that. I don't need them problems, man. I need to come out in one piece. I need to come out the same way I left. Well, I need to come out better than when I left it, when I came in that motherfucker. And I need to get back to my people, man. I can't be dying today, man. I got shit to do tomorrow. All right. But man, that's been the news. All right, and so we got Brian Blissett in the chat room. He says, if you took the vaccine, you should not be worried about the people that did not if it's so safe. It's not even necessarily about me. It's about the other people who can't take it right now. That's the thing, man. Like, honestly, man, like, we got to stop. People are so myopic. We only think about ourselves. Like, even the whole idea of wearing masks became politicized. When people found out that they would like the idea of wearing a mask might not necessarily be to protect you from COVID-19, but to protect other people from COVID-19. That was when a whole bunch of people were like, well, shit, if it's not to protect me, then fuck these niggas. I'm going to go out here and wear whatever the fuck. I ain't got to wear no mask. Right? Because we so fucking selfish, man. We so myopic. It's not just about us. Like, it's weird that we as Americans claim to be the greatest country on earth, but we don't give a fuck about each other. We only give a fuck about ourselves. We always talking about our own personal freedoms. It's like, no, like, if I'm vaccinated, I'm straight. But even when I'm at work, right? Even when I'm at work, I wear a mask just to make the other people, I'm going into their home, I wear a mask so those folks feel comfortable with me being in their house. I know they're not going to catch shit from me. And chances are, even if they are sick, I might not catch it. But I will still wear a mask to make them feel comfortable in their own home because they got a stranger in their crib and they don't. Like, I'm in everybody's house. And I had a lady tell me that, man, you in everybody's house. I don't know if I even feel comfortable with you even coming in here, right? So it's not just about me. It's not just about you. It's about everybody. And I need us to like kind of like embrace that fucking mindset, man. It's not just about us. We're so myopic as a people, man. Like, and that's the thing that's so disappointing is that we're so worried about just us. It's not just us. If more people thought beyond themselves, man, we'd be so much further along in this, man. Real talk. But it's time for Blue Blazers. I think I already.
In Blue Blazers is going on out here.
This nigga just say Blue Blazers.
All right, now our first story here in Blue Blazers, as we still continue to talk about this vaccine and this COVID shit, right? But our first story actually is some ironic shit, right? Some ironic shit. So apparently there was a sheriff. There was a sheriff who who had been posting anti-COVID-19 vaccine propaganda on his Facebook, on the social media, and everything else. Well, I'll be damned if that guy didn't die from COVID-19.
God damn!
Yeah, we get the story here. This comes out of Newsweek. It says a sheriff deputy in Denver, Colorado, who shared anti-vaccine content on Facebook has died of COVID. Daniel Duke Trujillo, 33, died on Wednesday evening from COVID complications, the Denver Sheriff Department said on Thursday. Trujillo was a former Marine who served as a deputy sheriff for 7 years and had recently been appointed vice president of the Denver Sheriff Latino Organization. We ask that you keep his family in your thoughts and prayers and respect their privacy, this department said. We also ask that you pray for the members of our department as well. Trujillo is survived by his wife and 3-year-old son. So I feel so sorry for his son, man. I feel so sorry for his son because his dad died playing a stupid fucking game, right? His dad didn't have to fucking die. He didn't have to die, man. This is that playing stupid games and winning stupid prizes. This is the stupidest prize you could ever win because this is 100% preventable, right? It says all who knew Daniel can describe him as lighthearted, loving, hardworking man who deeply cared for his family. Not enough to get the vaccine to keep him here for his 3-year-old son. He touched so many lives and will be immensely missed. Trujillo had previously shared social media content that appeared to reject the COVID vaccine. A Facebook profile photo updated in early May said, "I have an immune system," a common refrain among those eschewing pandemic-era precautionary measures. In late April, Trujillo's profile picture bore a banner that read, "I don't care if you've had your vaccine." Now, I was just saying this shit, right? I was just saying this shit. Now, he had an immune system, right? Was his immune system good enough to fight against his COVID vaccine? I mean, this COVID-19? Apparently not. Apparently not. It's not a game, man. It's not a game. So, yeah, man, that's just stupid. Like I like I said again, I feel sorry for his wife. I feel sorry for his 3-year-old son who's going to grow up without his dad because his dad made a stupid motherfucking decision. But that's just like that's just dumb. That's just dumb at this point. So yeah, man, that's in Blue Blazes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Another story that we got here in Blue Blazes. Joe Rogan says that if straight white men will be silenced if society becomes any more woke.
Oh, brother. Whoa. Now, you got too much dip on your chip.
Yeah, man. Joe Rogan is tripping, but let me pull this story up. We get this story here out of Men's Health. It says, straight white men, your opinion having days are numbered as far as podcast show host Rogan is concerned. Speaking on one of the world's biggest audio streaming platforms, Rogan warned his audience of almost 200 million listeners that the so-called woke culture is leading to a point where straight white men are not allowed to talk. On the latest episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Spotify's most streamed podcast globally, Rogan's stand-up comedian Joe List recalled listening to an earnest conversation on a mental health podcast that suggested straight white men should avoid self-deprecating humor due to their privilege. You can never be woke enough. That's a problem, said Rogan in response. It keeps going. It keeps going further and further and further down the line. And if you get to the point where you capitulate, where you agree to all these demands, it'll eventually get to straight white men are not allowed to talk. Now, I'm going to just say this right here now, man. This is a common refrain from those who are, this is a common refrain from a lot of people who are in very privileged positions. I mean, think about this fact. Joe Rogan, straight white man, has an audience of over 200 million people and is worried about whether or not he can express his opinion. In an era where they keep talking about people being woke, this man has made hundreds of millions of dollars in podcasting. In an era where they're talking about you being too woke or the woke culture canceling folks and everything else. If the woke culture was going to cancel Joe Rogan, don't y'all think he'd have been gone by now? Do y'all think Spotify would have been offering that man the hundreds of millions of dollars that they offered him in order to have exclusive podcasts with him? Y'all think that he would be able to garner the he's considered a comedian. I've never heard a stand-up bit by Joe Rogan a day in my fucking life. Is he even funny? Right? I remember him as the host of Fear Factor. That's what I remember Joe Rogan from. And then I know he's one of the analysts on UFC and shit, but I don't even watch UFC. Right? So he's worried about being canceled or the woke culture or straight white men won't be able to say anything. Because straight white men have not been able to say anything for how long, Joe Rogan? I mean, it's not as if we have a shortage of straight white men expressing their thoughts on anything, Joe Rogan. I mean, let's keep it a buck, man. It's not like straight white men haven't been running this whole shit for a long time, man. It's okay maybe to step off to the side, man, let somebody else get in touch with the microphone or something, man. It ain't always got to be you. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's all right to have somebody else up on the mic and get a chance to express their views and whatnot, right? But the other thing about that is, so to privileged folks, man, any level of equality from people who have been underprivileged for so long, if you start having some equity, start leveling the playing field, so to speak, that equity starts to feel like oppression to those who have been in a privileged position for so long. Right? So we've had these conversations on this podcast, on plenty of other podcasts before, man. We start talking about, marginalized groups of folks being able to stand up and kind of advocate for themselves. The internet has kind of democratized the space where it's not just the major media outlets who dictates who gets heard and who doesn't. The internet has democratized it to a point where even the crazy motherfuckers can get out here and get their voices heard, get a platform. Some of them even get elected to Congress now. Right? And so because the internet has democratized the public space, the soapbox, if you will, sometimes you're gonna hear the voices of folks that you won't necessarily agree with. Some of the people who are on this soapbox is like, yo, honestly, you don't deserve the spot that you got, right? And I think that's what Joe Rogan is at. Joe Rogan is looking at this like, yo, man, I'm not going to be able to like exist in the way that I exist in the world and express myself in the way that I express myself is no longer going to be acceptable because these other people have another standard. And more of these other people are being visible. More and more of these other people are being vocal and they're being heard. And it may diminish my influence somewhat. It may hurt my pocket somewhat. I mean, shit, Joe Rogan's like, I mean, you make $100 million, man. If you go broke out there making $100 million, man, like Jesus, let me make $100 million and see how if I can break myself. Like, give me them problems, you know what I'm saying? But no, man, I'm looking at this like, yo, man, Joe Rogan, like the idea that straight white men don't get to talk or that like, yo, y'all have been talking the entire time, bro. Even through all this shit, even through all this, this whole idea of, you know, being woke in the woke era, y'all really pretty much kind of co-opted the whole idea of wokeness and tried to turn it into a pejorative. I notice a lot of like right-wing, like right-leaning folks tend to like use it as a pejorative, so to speak. Y'all have taken it and like tried to make it mean something else. But like the fact that he's saying that straight white men won't be able to speak as if that would be a travesty for the world, man. Like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. Y'all been talking quite a bit. So maybe somebody else should have a turn at the stage. Maybe somebody else should have a turn at that mic, man. That's all they're saying. That's all they're saying, man. So, yo, man, that's in Blue Blazers. Now, another thing that's in Blue Blazers, man. And so I said I was going to talk about this a little bit because I saw this happening over the course of the last few weeks. I don't really have a bunch of the videos and all. I don't have a bunch of the videos, but like, so Kwame Brown was all over social media last week and somewhat this week, man. And shout out to the YouTube algorithm and shit, because now suddenly I'm being inundated with Kwame Brown videos. And here's another thing too, right? So Kwame Brown was saying he wasn't really on the clout chasing thing, right? But it's a lot of you niggas who are. It's a lot of you niggas who are, because a lot of the videos of Kwame Brown talking, like, you know, I'm not even, like, they're not even from Kwame Brown's YouTube channel. It be from you niggas reposting his shit, right? Because y'all trying to piggyback off of the shit that he's saying so that y'all can get views for y'all channel. I see what y'all doing. I know what it is. But I'm just saying, man, like, for all, like, the talk about clout chasing and shit, that's exactly what the fuck y'all are doing when y'all just rip his videos off his shit and then post it on your channel like it's your shit. You know what I mean? But so Kwame Brown, though, for those of you who may not be familiar, was a former number one pick of the NBA draft. Got drafted by the Washington Wizards. I forget exactly what draft it was. It might have been the 2003 draft, something like that. 2001, or 2002, something like that. Right? He got drafted number one. He was the first high school player, the first player straight out of high school to be drafted number one out of the up to the NBA. And Michael Jordan at the time was the president, part owner of the Washington Wizards at the time. And you know, he didn't pan out as a player, especially as a player who was drafted number one. He was considered by a larger bust by most basketball observers, right? Like, yo, you get drafted number one, people expect a lot out of the number one pick because they had a lot of choices, right? And you were the first one to go. So like they expect a lot of shit out of the number one pick. It's universally known. Like you get drafted number one, people expect a whole hell of a lot out of you. He didn't exactly live up to the number one pick things, right? And that's fine. That's fine. A lot of folks, there's a lot of folks who got drafted high and they didn't necessarily live up to the expectations, and they've been dealing with the criticisms of their play, the criticisms of their inability to play the game at a high level. And that's all fine and good, right? And Kwame Brown has basically been like taking this shit for the better part of the last 20 years, man. Like outside of last week, I don't think I've ever heard Kwame Brown speak, right? I don't think I've ever heard him speak until last year. Last week, I didn't know this nigga had like a YouTube channel or he was like doing vlogging and stuff like that on Facebook and stuff. I had absolutely no clue. Now, apparently he's got him a nice little following now, because what happened was they were talking about him on the All the Smoke podcast that is hosted by Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, right? And they had Gilbert Arenas on their show as a guest, and they were talking about his time with the Washington Wizards, and Kwame Brown's name came up, right? I think Gilbert Arenas called him a show pony, called him a like a man child because he was such a a big guy, you know what I'm saying, and like he was young. And like they were talking about the fact that he was, the number 1 draft pick and that he didn't necessarily pan out. He didn't live up to the expectations of a number 1 draft pick. And, I went back. I had to go back and listen to the podcast for myself to see what exactly that they said that was so egregious that warranted the response that they got, right? Because Kwame Brown went the fuck in, right? Kwame Brown was talking cash shit about all 3 of them dudes, right? But when I listened to the podcast, I'm like, damn, I mean, I didn't get what Kwame Brown got. But again, Kwame Brown got his own personal relationships with all 3 of those dudes, apparently. And also, there's something to be said about being sick and tired of niggas talking shit about you. I think everybody in the world can understand being sick of niggas talking shit about you, right? And not wanting to take that shit no more. I think anybody and their mama can understand that. And so when Kwame Brown first started like making these videos addressing people like Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes and Gilbert Arenas, I understood it because those are the people who were talking shit, right? And then they started branching out to everybody, like everybody that had anything to say, especially if it were any media people who had anything to say about Kwame Brown, like he was going at they necks. Like Stephen A. Smith was catching all the hell because Stephen A. Smith was like one of those media folks who were, talking, like kind of mockingly of Kwame Brown and his skills and everything else. So Kwame Brown, I think he had a lot pent up over the last 20 years of Stephen A. Smith. And he's just like, yo, man, I'm sick of you getting on this on television, downplaying and talking bad about black men and, and disrespecting black men, calling me a bus. And, I put my mom on the golf course when I was 18 and like, that's all fine and good, right? That's all fine and good, man. I mean, I wish, first of all, I wish my mother had been here when I was 18, but also I wish I would have had the ability to put my mom in a house that I had bought for, paid for. She ain't had to worry about nothing. Yo, man, I don't know nobody who's mad at that, right? That is a tremendous accomplishment. But the thing was, right? The thing was, when it came to Kwame Brown, one of the things I started picking up was some of the like the right wing leaning sort of rhetoric that Kwame Brown was kind of trafficking in. Like I was picking it up. It was real subtle, but I was picking it up. And then I saw a video where Kwame Brown was being interviewed by Tommy Sotomayor. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, Tommy Sotomayor is notoriously trollish on YouTube. Has a shit ton of like negative things to say about black women in particular, single moms. Has a lot of shit to say about them. Talks very negatively about black single mothers as if black single mothers go into single motherhood like willingly and like it not being a part of a systemic thing that has kind of turned like the black family into a family that's been largely separated, right? Lays a lot of the blame of the current state of the black community at the feet of the black woman, right? Very notorious for that sort of shit. And I saw him doing an interview with Tommy Sotomayor, like, shit started to make sense because at a certain point, when it came to Kwame Brown, it was like the shit had jumped the shark. It was like, all right, man, this man's still going. It had been 3 days, bro. And Kwame Brown was still putting out videos, sometimes 2 and 3 videos a day, talking about Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, and any other media people who had anything to say about the fact that Kwame Brown out here talking this shit. Like, because a lot of people like kind of surprised, like, yo, man, Kwame Brown out here like mad. Like, we didn't even know this nigga talked this much, right? Because we hadn't really heard from Kwame Brown, right? And so, like, I'm looking at this like, yo, man, I mean, I get it. Like, I understand a nigga being upset that people keep talking shit about him. But, like, at a certain point, man, like, some of the shit you saying is like, come on, bro. You on some other shit. And so, I came across this video. and he was talking about Black Biden voters, right? And let me see if I can pull this up. He was talking about Black Biden voters, and let me go ahead and pull this up so you guys can see this right along with me. Hold on just a second while I do this. All right. All right. Yeah. So he's comparing Biden voters, Black Biden voters, to the new KKK. Check this out, y'all.
Can't talk one policy, can't say one thing. Hey, look here. I said a long time ago, I got people calling my phone all the time. I don't know how the hell all these people get my number, the Democrat registry and all this shit. Are you voting for Joe Biden? I say, well, what is his policy? He's going to let you know after you can go online. I went online. I saw the tax plan. I saw this. I saw that. I don't stand for Black America.
Which means he wasn't looking very hard because he wasn't looking very hard because there was a whole 20-page fucking plan on Joe Biden's website about his plans for Black America. So, red flag number one.
What's going on? Oh, we gonna talk about? Oh no, I ain't. Till I hear the debate, I'll call you back. Like shit, I don't want to hear that shit. I'm not one of them scared Negroes. I'm me. Shit. Get on the line and try to talk all smart. Oh, well, you know, I went to school and I would. Oh, yeah, you did. You went to school and all that. Okay, yeah. You've been voting for the Democrats this whole time. So have I and everybody else. And what do we have to show for it? Well,
now, here's a common refrain that a lot of right-wing folks would say, like, yo, man, y'all been giving y'all votes away to the Democratic Party for all this time. Like, y'all don't have anything to show for it, as if we don't have the 1964 Voting Rights Act, if we don't have a Fair Housing Act, as if we don't have we don't have Obamacare, as if we don't have student loans, like all of these different programs that have been meted out, even affirmative action, right? Like even affirmative action, that was something that was implemented within the 1960s and shit. These were things that were put in place in order to rectify some of the systemic issues that were happening to Black Americans in this country in order to rectify that. And you know who's been trying to roll back a lot of that shit? Republicans, right? Republicans. And oftentimes Republicans, you know, like, or white people in general, have been able to benefit from the laws or the programs that were aimed to directly affect us, right? To kind of even out that wealth gap, even out that achievement gap, right? So this idea that we haven't gotten anything in the last 40, 50 years comes from someone who hasn't read up on shit. And this is another thing too, man. There's this idea, man. There's a whole lot of folks who walk around proud to not know shit. Proud to not know shit. Proud to be uneducated, right? Like you hate to hear this brother sitting up here talking about, man, y'all went to school. I went to school, and I like, why would we mock those who went to school and decided to learn some shit? Why is that something that you thought was cool to do? Like, yeah, you got some learned people, you got some educated folks who have learned some things. Maybe you should listen to these motherfuckers as opposed to mocking them. We, in this country, I don't know if this is like, I live in America. I don't know about any place else. But in this country, we mock the people who know more than us. This is the only country that I know of where we act as though we know more than the people who get paid for the shit that they do. What kind of shit what kind of sense did that make? You got people, you got people out here questioning Dr. Fauci because somebody they went to school with told them the vaccine was some bullshit. And my man failed science class in 5th grade, right? You and your mans was failing science class in 5th grade, but you gonna listen to your mans as opposed to this dude who's been doing this shit for the better part of 40 fucking years. We are the only fucking country I know of that intentionally mocks those who know more than us. We are the most loud and wrong motherfuckers in the world. The most loud and wrong in the world. And I don't understand how we got there. I don't know why. If we're going to be number one, we're going to be number one and being dumb, right? So, like, when I start seeing, like, things like this with Kwame, I'm like, all right, man. So there's a certain sort of like demographic that Kwame kind of really, really fucking appeals to. And I get there's a lot of brothers who feel frustrated, who feel marginalized, who feel like they're not being listened to. And Kwame Brown speaks like them. Kwame Brown is their voice. And this is why Kwame Brown is being elevated right now the way that he is. And here's the other thing too, right? Sometimes when Kwame Brown says some shit, it makes absolute fucking sense and you can't argue against it. Like, yo, it makes perfect fucking sense. But the problem is, especially when sometimes we start talking to the people who lean a little bit right, is that when they start talking some sense, what ends up happening is their sense starts leaning into homophobia, misogyny, racism. And like you go from like, yo, man, you was making all the sense in the world. Like, damn, how in the fuck we end up here? Right? Like Kwame Brown went at Jamil Hill last week, which was odd, right? Because Jamil Hill, like, I think she said something to the effect like, yo, Kwame Brown, like, chose violence this week or something like that, right? And he started going in on her place as a woman, right? Whether or not, well, this is men speaking, so you ain't supposed to be talking about this. Like, this ain't got nothing to do with you, ma'am. These men speaking. And I don't even think you like dudes. So now he questioned her sexuality. He's questioning her autonomy as a person, because here's another thing too, man. Like the niggas got this idea that like women can't speak up on shit simply because they women. Like, nah, dog, you don't want to be challenged on the shit that you saying right now, probably because you intimidated. She might know a little bit more than you. That's part of the reason why a lot of these niggas try to shut a lot of these sisters down when they talking. You don't want to be made to look a fool of, because she might know a little bit more than you. This man actually tried to accuse Jamil Hill of being in the pocket of white people. Yo, did y'all remember what the fuck happened to Jamil Hill? The same Jamil Hill who called Donald Trump a motherfucking white supremacist and got all the racist vitriol in the world at ESPN, got suspended by ESPN, eventually got separated by ESPN because she decided to tell the fucking truth. That Jamil Hill is a shield for the white people? Kwame Brown came out his face and said that shit. It's like, come on, man, what are you doing? Like, and that's when I started like, yo, man, this shit done kind of jumped it kind of jumped the shark, bro. Like, I was with you when you was defending yourself and everything else, but like now you just kind of coming at folks like he came at Charlamagne the God, and I'm like, truthfully speaking, I am no fan of Charlamagne the God. Many of the things that he said about Charlamagne the God was absolute motherfucking facts. I ain't even mad at that, right? But then, you follow that up with like, I'm going to also go get Judge Joe Brown to also talk some shit about Charlamagne the God. Judge Joe Brown, man. Man, y'all know Judge Joe Brown ain't right. Y'all know Judge Joe Brown ain't got a lick of sense, man. Right? So this became this thing, man. It, like Kwame Brown has become like this fucking, like almost like he's like the embodiment of the barbershop coming to rise up. It's like the barbershop talk rising the fuck up, man. That's what Kwame Brown, and like, and there's this idea of masculinity or this idea of what it means to be a man. Excuse me. This idea of what it means to be a man, like, kind of shapes a lot of the things that Kwame Brown says in like his videos and stuff. So when he started talking about the things that like, Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes and like the way in which they conduct themselves, he's talking about them as like, yo, as a man, you should do this. As a man, you should do that. As a man, this is what I did. As a man, I did this. That's like he's really tied into this idea of what manhood means to him. Right. And then what tends to happen with this idea of manhood is that we are given these ideas of manhood generally by the people who came up before us and those who raised us and everything else. But when you become a person of your own, you come to understand that maybe some of these ideas, maybe some of these principles don't necessarily make all the sense in the world. And so as a man, you have the autonomy to decide for yourself which one of these principles actually makes sense for the man that you want to be, right? Nobody else can decide the kind of man that you will become. Nobody else can do that for you. You can't even, like, as a man, this is just me speaking, my opinion. As a man, if you are going to be a man, You can't define your manhood based on somebody else's idea of what your manhood should be. You determine who you as a person is. You determine who and what your manhood looks like. Nobody else can do that for you. And the minute you come up with that realization of what your manhood is and what manhood means for you, you are so fucking free, bruh. You are so free from all these other fuckers. Like, because the thing is, we live a life filled with expectations. Everybody's expectations of what we are supposed to be as a person, as a man, as a father, as a husband, and everything else, right? You got a life filled with expectations. But what are your expectations for you? What are your expectations for you? And can you fulfill those expectations? You're supposed to be in competition with yourself, nobody else. Everybody got to live this, like, you look at this whole thing of life and shit. You look at this like a race, and it's a race that you run fucking alone, by and large. Yeah, you'll have partners. You'll have like life partners and companions and things like that. But this whole thing with your life, you come in this motherfucker by yourself, you will leave this motherfucker by yourself. So while you are here, you can't make other people, you can't use other people's idea of manhood for yourself. You got to create that you got to create your own shit. To me, that's what being a man is. Not what my daddy used to always tell me, or my uncle used to always tell me. That's cool. And sometimes they dropping jewels. And it's all right to pick those jewels up. But sometimes they're dropping some coals. And it's all right to leave them motherfuckers right there on the ground. Right? There are things that our parents did when we were young that we don't do today. You know why we don't do them today? Because we know better. Our parents didn't know better then. They did what they knew. So we have the advantage of learning from the mistakes that our parents made. Like, you know what? As a man, you know, I understand why my daddy did that, but I ain't got to do that. I could do this another way. I could find another way to do this. Embrace that. Right? And so, like, when I, you know, like I said, with Kwame, you know, he's on this, like, I again, like I said, I understand this man wanted to defend himself, but at a certain point he got to, well, you know, like the shit kind of jumped the shark, bro. Like, to me, the shit just kind of jumped the shark. And then once you start going deeper to this Kwame, you know, rabbit hole, it's like, all right, man, I get it. He's got he's got some right of center views that I might not necessarily be able to fuck with all the way. Some of the shit he's saying actually absolutely makes sense. Some of the shit he's saying is absolutely unfair. Like I said, with the whole thing he was doing with Jamel Hill and shit, like kind of coming at her in a way in which he was coming at her. Right. But, oh man, like, like I saw Kwame kill, like I keep wanting to say Kwame killed Patrick, but no, I saw Kwame Brown, man, trending last week, and it's like, yo, man, and then he kept putting videos, and I'm like, yo, man, he's still going. Somebody come get this nigga. Like, he's still going. He's still going. And it's like, you know, and it's kind of grown, man. It's grown and it's morphed, and like he's got a, like, anytime any of these people of any prominence has anything to say, that like if they respond to anything he says, he's making a video about them now. And I like, he says he ain't cloud chasing, and I low key, I kind of believe him that he's not cloud chasing, but he's got to know that, like, if he go ahead and make another video about these people, that he got folks' attention now, right? Now, he had went at Stephen A. Smith. He had been going at Stephen A. Smith for like the better part of a week and shit. And Stephen A. Smith had like finally responded. He had did like this video where, like, I think he did like a 15-minute video on ESPN and shit. And he played a bunch of like Kwame Brown, like blooper reels and shit. And, somebody on Twitter was like, yo, man, you know, you ain't have to do all that, man. Like, you know, that man was, he did a video in his truck or whatever, man. Like, you out here getting your research team to go out and pull up bloopers of Kwame Brown, man. Like, you ain't have to do all that. And I'm thinking, I'm going to tell y'all this here too, man. This is another thing. Y'all can't keep barking at the fucking sky, man, and being surprised when the rain comes, right? Kwame Brown used the resources that were available to him at the time to express the way in which he felt he needed to be expressed, right? He felt he expressed his shit. Stephen A. Smith did the exact same thing with the resources that was available to him to express the way he felt about the exact same situation. So for those of us who don't like Stephen A. Smith or whatever, and there's legitimate reasons to say why you don't, because I got some qualms with that dude too. But come on, man. Like, yo, he did the videos. He been doing the videos for a week. What's the name of a 15-minute video to talk back? You know, like it's all petty in the grand scheme of things, right? And that's another thing about why are we talking this manhood shit, right? It's another thing. I want y'all to forever banish this idea that dudes don't gossip. Let's just get rid of that whole idea altogether. Because all this shit is gossip. I want y'all to also get rid of this idea that men aren't emotional. Because all of this shit is emotional. And you know what? It's all right. You human. Y'all be acting like, as a man, you can't express emotions. The only emotion you are allowed to express as a man is anger. You aren't allowed to express sadness. If you in a picture and you smiling too hard, people looking at you funny for smiling too hard. If you dress a certain way, people got a way they talking about you about that shit. Like, y'all manhood is so wrapped up in other people's idea of it. It is fucking paralyzing you niggas. It's paralyzing y'all. And I need y'all to let go of that shit, man. I need y'all to let go of that shit. We got some comments here in the chat room. William says, that's so real, Mr. Spann. Manhood is freedom from people's stupid expectations. Listen, man. Like again, it ain't even so much about people's expectations. When you stop giving a fuck about what people think of you, right? Because I tell my wife, I tell people this all the time, man. The world will not cease to tell you that you ain't shit. The world will always tell you that you ain't shit. The world will find ways to tell you that you ain't shit. You got to figure out a way to tell the man, I don't know. You don't know who the fuck you talking to. I don't know who you think you dealing with, nigga. Like, I'm me. I don't give a fuck what you talking about. You got to kind of walk with that swag, man. You got to kind of bring that with you. And it's not something that a lot of folks have naturally. I know I didn't always have it. Confidence was a little low at certain points. But when you come into yourself as a person, as an adult, as a man or a woman, you got to walk with that, because the world will continue to tell you that you ain't shit. And you got to go, you don't know who you fucking with. The world don't know you. The world don't know what you're capable of. But they'll find out. And it's your job to show them that they don't know who they fucking with. So yeah, man, that happened. Are we talking about this crisis of masculinity and shit? Because I really wanted to get at this point with Kwame, because I felt like a lot of this was like Kwame Brown feeling like he has to defend himself as a man. And that's where a lot of these videos, a lot of this anger and a lot of this rhetoric and a lot of this shit has been coming from. And a lot of the people who have been propping Kwame Brown up this last week and a half, a lot of these are dudes who are feeling marginalized, who are feeling unheard, who are feeling like, yo, they are mocked and everything else. Kwame Brown is their avatar. That's like, yo, man, this is our moment. Real talk. That's what it is. That's what a lot of this is for a lot of guys, right? For a lot of guys, is what that is. So, and Brian Blissett is in the chat room. He says, Stephen A. Smith's response was trash. I mean, yeah, I get it. I mean, I thought he could have not even responded at all. He could have let Kwame Brown continue to do these YouTube videos from the crib or from his truck or whatever else. He didn't have to say shit. I mean, Stephen A. Smith has a very large platform. Didn't even have to use it that way. So, I thought it was I wasn't impressed by it by any means, but, as people, right? As men, as much as folks would like to say men aren't emotional, that was an emotional response in much the same way that Kwame Brown has been responding emotionally about the shit that's been saying about that people have been talking about him for the better part of 20 years. It's okay to be emotional as a man. I need dudes to kind of get out of this whole mindset that you can't express yourself without expressing anger. Because a lot of niggas, the only way that they know how to express themselves is anger. You can express sadness. You can cry, bro. It ain't nothing wrong with that. A lot of us dying out. Here's the other part, man. Y'all know a lot of black men die more often than not because we harbor a lot of stress, a lot of high blood pressure and shit like that, man. we don't have the proper outlets, and we don't know how to express ourselves. We don't go to talk to nobody, man. We just keep a lot of shit in. We got to let a lot of that shit go, bruh. We got to let a lot of that shit go, man. Russell Bailey's in the chat room. He says, as men, we are supposed to be able to take care of ourselves and our families. We need to look at the Bible to understand what our role is as a man and follow that the example that Christ gave. Now, I feel you, Russell, but I'm going to push back on that just a little bit, man, because a lot of folks maybe not even basing their manhood on what they read in the Bible. A lot of folks ain't even reading the Bible, right? Now, what I will say is that if you use the Bible to judge, or if you use the Bible to kind of gauge the kind of man that you want to be and it's working for you, then brother, by all means, go for that. Then by all means, go for that. And if that's working for you and your family, then God bless. But yeah, you define who you are. Nobody else does that for you. Nobody else can do that for you. You define the kind of man that you want to be, man. And that's really what I want to kind of get at. I want to drill that into every dude who is listening to the sound of my voice right now. You define the kind of man that you want to be. Nobody else can do that for you. I was that Jay-Z verse, like, nobody designed like you, nobody built like you. Do you design yourself? It's the exact same thing, man. It's the exact same thing. So that's in Blue Blazers. Another story that we got here in Blue Blazers, and also has to deal with the idea of masculinity and manhood and shit like that, right? So D Wade was on Extra. He did an interview with the TV entertainment, TV magazine Extra, and he was on there with his wife, Gabrielle Union, and they were talking about their relationship and the dynamic that they have in their relationship, in their home, and their marriage, and everything else. And he said something on this that kind of set niggas in the manosphere off in the tizzy, right? He had the audacity to say that he doesn't feel that as the husband that he should be leading the marriage in his home.
And I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, man. Now, for a lot of dudes, D Wade is talking blasphemy right now. How dare this nigga go out here on a public platform and say that he don't lead his house? How dare this nigga say that, right? So we gonna pull this video up. Let me go ahead and let me take this down. Let me stop that one. And I'm gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Let me do my thing here. All right. Where is it? Did I pull it up? Hold on a second, you guys. Okay, I didn't pull it up. All right. So here we go. Let's see what he's talking about.
Wait, how are you guys? Good. How are you? I'm good now. Everybody's favorite power couple is in front of me. And Dwayne, I love what you said of Gabrielle, your beautiful wife. You said, it's not my job to change who she is. It's my job to be a part of the evolution. That was good. That was deep, babe.
In relationships, we come in and we try to change people. We try to change them to the way that we want them to be. But I decided to start taking a different approach, in this relationship. I think early on I came in like, hey, you get 2 drink max. Bop. And she didn't respond well to that.
No, it did not.
It was reasons for that too. Let me say that.
I have a good time. Life of the party right here.
It's not the man leads and the woman follows. That's not what we live in this house, at all. So for me, I have a wife that works not just as hard, harder than I. And she had her own career. She had her own life before I came along. So from my perspective, it was like, okay, how can I be a part of the growth and the evolution of who she is, and not trying to change her or stunt her growth or make her in the way that I see fit.
How thrilling is it that you've got Shady Baby out now?
All right. So that's what he said. That's the shit that set the world on fucking fire. At least social media and some of these niggas in the podcast world, some of these niggas in the YouTube world, some of these niggas that's in the manosphere and all this other shit. That's the shit he said that had a lot of these niggas upset, right? That he decided that he was going to be a part of his wife's evolution, that he didn't have to dictate to his wife, that's not what works for their relationship. And this is the tripped out part, right? So I saw a lot of niggas talking about like Dwayne Wade not leading in his house. Who's leading who over here? It's like, nigga, first things first, you ain't in a marriage. You're not in a house. Why is that any of your concern? Now, some of these niggas would say, like, yo, well, they talking about this publicly, so I got to have an opinion on it. Like, yeah, you could have an opinion on it. But real talk, man, some of y'all opinions are real like, this is real visceral. your reactions to this are very visceral. You feeling real uptight about this shit, right? Excuse me. And so I'm wondering, like, why so many dudes felt so triggered by that. And this goes back to the whole idea of what your idea of manhood is. If your idea of manhood is, and this goes back to what the brother said, who's that, Russell? So a lot of, and it's not that I'm not picking on you, brother, but a lot of brothers go into this whole thing like, yo, man, so the Bible says it's God first, then the husband and the wife and then the children and all this other stuff, right? So they put themselves up above their wives, as opposed to their wives being their life partner, like their helpmate. Like, we are in this together. This isn't me lording over you. This isn't me, like, you know, a lot of dudes treat their wives as if their wife is another child, right? That's how a lot of dudes view their marriage. Like, yo, I'm going to dictate to my wife how much money she can spend. I'm going to dictate to my wife if she can have a job. I'm going to dictate to my wife if she can have any friends. I'm going to dictate to my wife if she can go out tonight. Like, yo, I'm going to dictate to my wife how her hair is going to look like. Like, these are the things that a lot of dudes feel like it's their duty as husbands to do. Like, and a lot of that comes from some of these Judeo-Christian traditions and shit, but also like some of this this white Eurocentric idea of patriarchy too. A lot of brothers don't really want to admit to the fact that, like, they really are adopting a lot of these white folks' ideas and attributing that to, like, yo, this is what we need to better advance the black communities. Like, man, I don't know. We got different issues in our families. We got different issues in our community. We got different different life experiences within our families, right? So I don't know if we just like gonna take somebody else's model and just apply it to our shit. And here's the other thing. If you don't live in Dwayne Wade's house and you're not married to Dwayne Wade's wife, your opinion on this shit don't mean a motherfucking thing, right? But sometimes, like, we got this idea, and like, especially someone like, I'm on a podcast, right? I'm doing this podcast, man. I'm out here expressing my opinions, I'm expressing my views. Like, I'm just actually just like putting this shit out here. But in the grand scheme of things, what your man Spann thinks don't mean a goddamn thing to nobody else if they ain't really taking heed to it, right? Right? Like, it don't really mean what I'm saying right now may not mean a damn thing to Gabrielle Union or Dwayne Wade. May never even hear this shit. Same thing with Kwame Brown. All the people that we talk about, all of the issues that we talk about here on this show. Just my opinion on the shit in the grand scheme of things. We're on these interwebs expressing our opinions on a lot of different things, right? That's what this is. But a lot of y'all start projecting shit onto other people. Your ideas of, and this is what we're talking about, your ideas of manhood, your ideas of marriage, your ideas of fatherhood, and all these other things, right? So I say all that to say, I unfortunately had I don't even want to call it the privilege, but I came across this video on YouTube, right? And it was a response to Dwayne Wade's comments here on the Extra Show. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull this video up because there was this one brother on this particular let me stop that. But there was this one brother on this particular podcast. I don't know what the name of it. Was it the Talk, the Lapeef Network or some shit like that? There was this one dude on there. I think his name is Anton. He had some real strong views on Dwayne Wade's response or his answer to how he is with his wife in their marriage and shit. So let me go ahead and pull this up. I think there's
on this episode.
Let me go right to the time part where I got it saved. Yeah, I think it's right there. And let's listen to this just a minute, because this is part of the reason. This level of ignorance is part of the shit that I'm like really talking about.
Shout out to Mr. Palmer. With a baby mama terrorist, where you have to fight for your kids.
But maybe he shouldn't have been in his kid's life after seeing what the results are.
All right. Off top, he's saying that maybe Dwayne Wade shouldn't have been in his kid's life based on what the results are. For any of you guys who've been paying attention, one of the Dwayne Wade's children is transgender. Zaya Wade identifies as a young lady. He has a problem with that.
I mean, I don't really understand why everybody being so nice. Why we mincing words? Why are we tiptoeing and saying, I respect that? I don't respect nothing about it. I think that this is the exact thing that's wrong with society, is that we feminize men, we out of place, we out of order, and now we trying to fit square pegs in round holes and then call it a relationship as though that makes sense. And it don't make sense. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care if it makes people uncomfortable. I don't care what organization you're a part of and how many letters is in your alphabet.
Again, the mockery of people who know more than we do, right? I don't care what level of, I don't care how many letters is behind your name. I don't care what organization you are a part of. Ignorant niggas love to be loud and wrong, right? Love to be loud and wrong. And they hate for, they hate for people who have some level of understanding to talk to them, right? Here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. There is this thing where dudes are loath to admit that there are some things that are beyond their capability of understanding in that particular moment in time, right? Dudes hate to admit that there's something that they can't grasp or that they can't understand in the moment. So what they will do is they will project as though I don't need to know that shit because I know what I know. And what I know is this ain't right. Despite the fact what you know is quite limited. Right? And they're not trying to hear from people who are learned in the topic. They ain't trying to hear from people who are living that life. They ain't trying to hear from people who have studied that life. They know what they know, and that's all they care to know. And that's what that's that loud and wrong shit that really grinds the niggas' gears, man. Because it's like, come on, man, you don't have to be this stupid. You don't have to be ignorant out here. You really don't.
I don't care nothing about none of that, yo. Only thing that matters is the truth. And the truth is that if you look at the results and you look at their kids and you look at the things that's happening and how things are coming about as far as what the results are, it's unfortunate. And the unfortunate part is not that it's just them doing it. The unfortunate part is that they got a platform and they promoting this whole lifestyle. And it does not align with the way that men are supposed to lead. And I think that he very much needs to be put on a platform and used as an example of what men should not be. I don't care how many points you scored. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care about none of that. You are a sucker. You a simp. You one of the biggest simps. Your son is weak. Your son ain't even a son no more. And it's unfortunate. And this is the part of the conversation that I think is difficult to have, because then it's hard for a person like me to come by and say men should be men. And I don't understand why women are, forcing or fighting against men playing a role in the kids' lives. And then when you see what happens and how that translates, you almost like, dang, is this the anomaly, or do women really have a point when the kid kind of turn out like it is because the father was never prepared or was never the man that he was supposed to be, which everybody shouldn't be having kids. That's a whole nother conversation. Everybody, just because you can do something don't mean that that's the requirement. Like it's translating and it ripples into everything that we do. And we don't want to take accountability for how we affect other people. We want to live in this silo because it makes us feel good. But then when you look at the results and you look how it affects other people, you have to start taking accountability and ownership for impacts that you having on other people.
Yeah.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's no wonder you get D's and everything.
Yeah. So first things first, man. He's talking about people having some level of he's talking about folks having some level of accountability. He's talking about, first of all, that Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union are promoting a lifestyle, right? They're promoting a lifestyle. He's mostly talking about the fact that Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union are openly supporting the fact that their daughter is their daughter now, right? and this is negatively affecting other people. How is it how is Zaya Wade living her life as she sees fit affecting you whatsoever? Is Zaya Wade like changing anything with your light bills or your gas bills? Are you having troubles like paying your mortgage or your rent or anything? Are you having troubles like paying your mortgage? Like is Zaya Wade on your TV all the time? Do you find yourself like watching the basketball game and suddenly Zaya Wade just pops up all over the place? You can't. Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Because here's the thing, right? We start talking about our roles as fathers and our roles as men and shit. One of the first things here's a Spannism, or like my idea of what a man should do or as a father should do. Your role as a father should protect your children against everybody. Your children should be able to come to you knowing that you have their best interests at heart, that you are willing to protect them from everybody, that they can tell you anything. And daddy, they come to daddy like for that protection shit, right? Your role as a father is to make sure that your child feels all right when they step out of that fucking door. So the fact that Dwayne Wade is being a dad in a situation where many of you niggas can't relate because you've never had to deal with anything like this, you would actually try to question his, first of all, y'all trying to question his sexuality. The man is married to Gabrielle Union. A lot of you niggas have fantasized about being with Gabrielle Union. He sleeps with Gabrielle Union every fucking night. He won on that front. A lot of you niggas dream of being millionaires. That man is a millionaire 100 and maybe 90 times over. He won. Many of you dream of being athletic and like world class and shit. That man is an NBA champion multiple times over. You're not. He won. Right? But y'all will continually question this dude on how his choices for his family. His choices for his family is working for his family. What the fuck does that have to do with you? Why are you so bothered, fam? Why is this such a big deal for you? If he decides that it's not his job for his wife to follow behind him, why does that bother you? Are you having issues of leadership at home? Is your wife, making all of the decisions and you feel a way about it? Are your children not listening to you? Are you feeling inept as a man? Because a lot of this manosphere shit is a lot of these dudes, it's a circle jerk of niggas who feel as though they're like kind of inadequate, bro. They having issues with women and they don't really know how to fucking express it. And so they get around a bunch of other motherfuckers and it's a circle jerk of niggas talking about their problems with women and what's wrong with the world. And it's crazy to kind of listen to these niggas like go on about a nigga who has almost $200 million, a world-renowned, well-known Hollywood starlet on his arm. He's an NBA champion, Olympic gold medalist with children, with one child who happens to be transgender, right? So we talk about this idea of a father. Again, we go back to this whole idea of manhood. It's a crisis of masculinity going on out here. The idea of a father is to protect their kids, right? I'm gonna try to think about something real quick. Let me pull this article up. So I pulled this up because I was thinking about this, man. When I saw this shit, I was like, man, I was thinking about this because there's a whole lot of niggas who talking about some, man, like, these are new things for a lot of us, right? We're seeking understanding for a lot of these things. One of the things that I thought about was because of how we treat the LGBTQ community, that especially like young people of the LGBTQ community, how often they're dealing with mental health issues, how often they're dealing with accepting of themselves because of how society treats them, and because they don't have the tools to like kind of like lean into their like that confidence that they need to kind of go forth in the world. And I read this story. This came out of Forbes magazine. It says that 1 in 5 Black trans youth attempt suicide. 1 in 5. That's 20% of Black trans kids attempt suicide. And you know why they attempt suicide? Is because largely society treats them really fucked up, right? Society treats them really fucked up. And as a parent, your job is to protect your children, right? Teach them well, let them lead the way, and all that other good shit too, right? But job number one is to protect them. So Dwayne Wade being open and understanding and trying to learn who his child is and allowing for his child to be who they are creates a problem for you ignorant niggas. It's stupid. It's fucking stupid. We read this article. It says 1 in 5 Black trans youth have tried to take their life in the last year, according to a new report by the Trevor Project. It also finds that Black transgender and non-binary youth are twice as likely to attempt suicide in comparison to their cisgender Black LGBTQ peers. The Trevor Project is a crisis intervention and suicide charity for LGBTQ young people under 25. Their new report examines the rates of depressed mood, likelihood of being suicidal, and mental health service use among Black LGBTQ youth. It finds that despite having similar rates of mental health disparities, Black LGBTQ youth are less likely to receive professional care. Black transgender and non-binary youth report double the rate of seriously considering, 27% versus 59%, and attempting suicide. 15% versus 32% in the last 12 months compared to cisgender Black LGBTQ youth. While nearly half, 47% of LGBTQ youth overall report getting professional mental help over the past year, only 4 in 10 of Black LGBTQ youth reported having done so. 2/3 report feeling depressed in the last year, while over the 35% seriously considering suicide in the past 12 months. Dwayne Wade is doing his fucking job as a man and as a father. And fuck any of you niggas who got any damn problems with how he's raising his family. Y'all are sitting here talking about how he's promoting anything. He's promoting, my child is this. I'm going to love my child regardless, as a father should do. Fuck anybody who got anything to say otherwise. As a man, that's how you should roll with that shit. It's just it's just crazy, man. It's just crazy, like, to kind of listen to how certain folks, man, like it's frustrating because these thoughts and these ideas of manhood are so prevalent. It's so prevalent. Loud, wrong, ignorant, and prevalent. And it's hurting us, man. It's hurting us as a community. It really is. And I just hate like these are the voices that a lot of folks pretty much are gravitating to right now, man. Like, these are the voices, but apparently that's what it is. But that's been Blue Blazers, y'all.
What in blue blazes is going on out here?
Did this nigga just say Blue Blazers?
All right, but y'all know what time it is.
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Yeah, that's enough of that shit. It's Proud to be an American time here at the Spann Report podcast. And our first story here in Proud to be an American has to do with the fact that Florida's governor is really trying. Is this nigga in the contest to like get worse governor, but he's like running by him, like he's like running against himself and shit, right? So, Florida's governor Ron DeSantis just signed the bill into law in the state of Florida that will fine social media companies if they decided that they were going to ban any political candidates. What? I said Florida's governor signed a bill that will fine social media companies for banning political candidates. This is what he did. Now, we get the story out of the Washington Post, and it says, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill Monday that aims to punish social media companies for their moderation decisions, a move that Silicon Valley immediately criticized and likely sets the stage for for potential legal challenges. Off top, I'm going to tell you this right now. This shit doesn't even, this is a violation of the First Amendment. Free and clear. Violation of the First Amendment. says the legislation will bar internet companies from suspending political candidates in the run-up to elections. It will also make it easier for the Florida State Attorney General and individuals to bring lawsuits when they think tech companies have acted unfairly. Legal experts and tech industry trade groups immediately raised concerns about the constitutionality of the law and warned that it gives the government too much power over online speech. Also, let's keep this a buck here, man. When we start talking about like these Republicans, these conservatives and shit, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, they talk a lot about the idea of limited government, less regulation, right? We know this particular legislation comes about because Donald Trump had been banned from Twitter and Facebook. And I believe Parler was knocked off of like all of these the major app stores, the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store. I believe Amazon App Store maybe had dropped Parler as well, and they couldn't get hosting for their shit either, right? So there's this idea that like, yo, if they are banning us from this and they're violating our constitutional rights, they're violating our First Amendment rights, and really it's basically private companies deciding like there's a certain audience they want there, you might not necessarily be welcome, right? So this idea that you can like now fine them because a political candidate got a ban from their platform kind of like flies in the face of the whole idea of less government regulation, less government involvement in our lives, right? Because this is what they keep telling us that they don't want is government and regulation and all this other shit until it benefits them, right? The other thing about this too, I want y'all to be clear about like the type of people who do this shit, right? So Ron DeSantis is someone who went to Harvard Law School, really prestigious fucking school to go to. Like the elites go there, right? Be mindful of the fact that a lot of these conservatives like to talk about the fact that like, yo, these liberal elites or these the elites, like they really talk about like the idea of elite as if it's foreign to them, and also as if they are not also a part of it, right? They go to the same motherfucking schools, they go to the same damn country clubs, they go to the same damn political action committees, like they go to all of the same shit, right? But somehow they've convinced a segment of this population that somehow these other folks are elite and they are not. And they play on that. They play on the fact that like, yo, they also play on the fact that there's a swath of Americans who resent the idea of higher education. That resent that. We were talking about that when we were talking about Kwame Brown with the whole thing about going to school and old boy Anton or whatever the fuck his name is. We were talking about that. Like there's this idea that like, yo, there's Americans who resent the fact that there are people more learned than they are. They resent that shit. So we will play off of that resentment. All the while, we are the very same motherfuckers that they resent. So yeah, man. Florida's governor signed some damn bill into law to try to like, keep people like him from being banned off of social media platforms for essentially putting out propaganda. Bullshit. Donald Trump was banned multiple times. Well, he wasn't even banned. Like Donald Trump got away with a lot of shit on social media simply because he was president. Right? He got away with a lot of shit. A lot of us are being banned for much less than what Donald Trump did. It took a goddamn insurrection for them to finally decide, like, yo, man, we do. I guess we can finally pull this motherfucker off and shit. But it took that to happen before they finally decided to do something really about it. I mean, they were putting a little fact checks behind his shit, but they weren't really like doing anything substantial. He just kept putting shit out. They just kept putting a little marker up there. Right? So yeah, man. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law some like internet, policing bill. That shit's gonna go to court though. It's very much anti-constitutional, like against the First Amendment and shit. So yeah, that's in blue. I'm sorry. Proud to be an American. Another story that's in Proud to be an American is so there was this guy in Colorado, I believe, and this dude, first of all, he's charged with his wife's murder. All right. Charged with his wife's murder. And also, he not only got charged with his wife's murder, but he also cast a ballot and voted on behalf of his wife. And that ballot was cast on behalf of Donald Trump.
God damn!
Yeah, so remember that whole thing about voter fraud and all that other shit. Like Republicans know about voter fraud, cheating, and all that other shit because they doing it. So we read the story here. This comes out of the Washington Post. It says that there's video attached to this. Let me go ahead and pull this video up and see what they got to say. I didn't know that there was video with this. Let's see what they're talking about, so that I don't have to read that shit. Here we go.
Type 2 diabetes can lead to kidney disease.
They really gonna play ad right now? I mean, I guess, man. We are getting this shit for free on behalf of the ads, but then we ain't gotta play them on the Spann Report podcast. We ain't gotta hear them then. All right, here we go.
This that has you. Please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you. We miss you. Your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you.
Oh, this is okay.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this.
Okay, so this is a video of him pleading for his wife's return, but he's actually been charged in his wife's murder. So we read the story here. This comes out of the Washington Post. It says the county clerk immediately knew something strange was going on last fall. A mail ballot had arrived from Suzanne Morphew, a woman missing since May. Though there's posters all over our town, said Lori Mitchell, the clerk and recorder of Chaffee County, a Colorado community of about 20,000, rocked by Morphew's disappearance last Mother's Day. Constant things in the news about her. There's people at the grocery store passing out flyers. The ballot didn't have Morphew's signature as required, Mitchell said, but someone had signed on as the witness on the witness line, the woman's husband, Barry Morphew. I was stunned, Mitchell recalled. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what in the world is going on? For a long time, she said it was just something fishy that her office reported to law enforcement. Then Barry Morphew was charged this month with murdering his wife. This week, things got stranger still. Barry was also accused of casting his wife's ballot in a fraudulent vote for President Donald Trump. Barry echoes Trump's false claims of election fraud as a motivation for his own alleged wrongdoing. Like, imagine, right? Imagine thinking that the way to prove against voter fraud was to actually do the voter fraud, get caught. Like, this is the thing that, like, Republicans, like, they keep talking about all this voter fraud, but the system is working exactly like it should because they're catching all of you dumb motherfuckers who are doing it. This man cast a ballot for a woman he killed. Didn't think he was, and then he did it for Donald Trump on Donald Trump's behalf. He wasn't even like, if he really wanted to like grind everybody's gears, he'd have cast it for for Joe Biden, but instead he did it for Donald Trump. That's stupid. He says the 53-year-old told FBI agents last month that he did it because all these other guys are cheating and said his wife would have backed Trump anyway. I just thought, give him another vote. Oh man, it was the latest wild twist in a widely followed missing persons case, publicized in part by Barry's emotional pleas for his wife's return, as well as a presidential race dogged by false claims Trump lost the election due to fraud. So yeah, man, Donald Trump's supporters are not only killing their wives, but they are also submitting fraudulent ballots on their wives' behalf. So that's in Proud to Be an American. Now, another story that we got here in Proud to Be an American is kind of fucked up. This is a really fucked up story, and I don't really necessarily like having to do this one. But there was a sister who was trying to sell her home, and in trying to sell her home, she got her home appraised a couple times, and she was surprised by the amount that her home was appraised for. She wasn't happy with it. As a matter of fact, I think they appraised her home for less than what she paid for it. It wasn't until this woman decided that she was going to use a white person to act in her behalf as the owner of the home, where the home value was doubled on the third goddamn appraisal. Yeah, let me pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Here we go. Let's see what she's talking about.
central Indiana housing market has sent home values skyrocketing. Tonight, one Indianapolis woman says she was left out of that spike because of her race. That homeowners discrimination complaint targets the appraisal process.
She says that the appraised value of her home more than doubled after she took steps to hide her identity.
CBS 4's Jill Glavin looked into that complaint.
You just feel so helpless in the whole thing.
Carlette Duffy wanted to refinance her home in this neighborhood just outside of downtown Indianapolis, but two separate appraisals valued the house at the same or less than what she paid in 2017. Frustrated by the process, she met Amy Nelson with the Fair Housing Center of Central Indiana, who spoke at a community meeting about this New York Times article examining discrimination in home appraisals.
So I decided to do exactly what was done in the article. I took down every photo of my family from my house. I took every piece of ethnic artwork out.
Duffy asked a white male friend to sit in for her at a new appraisal. It came back at double the first two, valuing her home more than $100,000 higher.
I was so angry that I had to go through all of that. Just to be treated fairly, I had to go through all of that. It was pretty staggering.
Nelson and Duffy recently filed two housing discrimination complaints, asking the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to investigate the difference in the appraisals. Nelson believes bias played a role and points to the neighborhood comparisons that were used to determine the home's value.
And whether or not those comps were fairly selected is something that is the basis of the complaints that we have filed.
Duffy hopes that her case could serve as a catalyst to ensure the process is fair for everyone, no matter their background.
I'm doing this for my daughter. I'm doing this for my granddaughter. So that when they come against obstacles, they will know that you can stand up. You can say, this is not right.
In Indianapolis, Jill Glavin, CBS 4 News.
Yeah, man. This is a practice that has been going on for far too long in this nation. I remember last summer, man, I was reading this book. It was called The Color of Law. You should definitely check that out when you get the chance, man. And it kind of talked about the history of home ownership and how home ownership has been colored about, and colored in a way that didn't really benefit a whole lot of black folks, man. Like there was this one part of the book that I was reading that was really interesting. They were talking about how like white folks, like when it came to like black people, like maybe possibly moving into a neighborhood, what realtors would do is that they would send a black family, or they would send a mother or a black woman who looked like she was expecting into a neighborhood and make it look as if she was going ready to buy a home, right? And they would use that to kind of scare a lot of the white people in the neighborhood into thinking that black folks is coming to move in, right? And so if you want to like get the best value that you're going to get for your house right now, you should sell right now, right? And a lot of those white folks would sell their house for less than the property was worth, right? Excuse me. They would sell their homes for less than the property values. And then those same realtors who fooled those white folks into selling their homes for less than the property value would then therefore sell those homes to black folks for double what those homes were worth, because black folks at the time were not giving the same level of autonomy and not giving a level playing field when it came to buying homes. A lot of like when the GI Bill came to be, like, or when the fair housing and everything, like when they were giving people subsidized loans by the government, the FHA and everything else, black folks were barred from a lot of that shit in the very beginning, man. Barred from that. And so to see remnants of that still happening even in 2021 is disheartening, man. And this one is just another thing with America. As much as we talk about America being the greatest country in the world and all this other shit, man, it still has so much further to go, because you still have instances of these sorts of things happening, man. And I feel sorry for that sister, but ultimately I'm also proud of that sister for continuing to fight for her home equity, for her home value, because it exposed that this sort of thing is still happening, right? And a lot of folks, man, like especially like a lot of black people, a lot of our home, like a lot of the wealth that is built up for a lot of black folks come through the fact that, like, at some point somebody in the family owned a home, right? At some point, somewhere, somebody in the family owned a home, and a lot of that wealth was generated from the fact that you own that home. So, yeah, the fact that she fought that, man, I'm very proud of that sister. And yo, man, that's been proud to be an American.
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Yeah, that's enough of that shit, but y'all know what time it is.
The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here.
All right. It's Champ of the Week time here at the Spann Report Podcast, man. And our Champ of the Week this week has to be the Illinois legislature, man. The Illinois legislature, man. I know. Crazy to me too, right? But the reason why the Illinois legislature is the Champ of the Week this week here at the Spann Report Podcast is because the Illinois legislature has just approved Juneteenth as a state holiday in the damn state of Illinois. And yeah, man, that's dope. That's dope, man. So we read the story here. This comes out of the Associated Press. It says Illinois is closer to making Juneteenth a state holiday. Legislation making June 19th a paid day off for all state employees, and a school holiday a school holiday. Them kids gonna that's the ripoff right there though, because the kids be out of school by that time. I mean, who in school? I mean, I guess if you're in summer school, then maybe. But all right. Never mind. It says and making June a payday off for all state employees, and the school holiday was unanimously approved by the Illinois House last week and by the state Senate last month. It states that if June 19th falls on a Saturday or a Sunday, the holiday will be observed the following Monday. The measure will take effect immediately if Governor J.B. Pritzker signs it. Juneteenth commemorates the date in 1865 when the last enslaved black people in the United States learned from Union soldiers in Texas that they were free. More than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, the day is also known as Emancipation Day and Freedom Day. The bill's sponsor, Representative LaShawn Ford, has sponsored similar legislation in the past. There wasn't an appetite for passing it previously. The Chicago Democrat told the Chicago Tribune. He says that changed after the murder of George Floyd, who was black, by a white police officer in Minnesota. Now, I'm going to say this. We saw a lot of places. Like, I remember my job gave us a day off last year for June 19th. I am hopeful that they would do the same thing again this year. It's just being hopeful, right? Like, because last year I did kind of feel like a lot of that shit was, lip service. We're a year removed from a lot of the more visceral reactions to what was going on with George Floyd. So if these companies, if these state legislatures are really true about the idea of a racial reckoning and making things right, this is just a small step in making things more equitable and making things right. And yo, man, my birthday is June 18th, right? I would love to have my birthday right around a holiday, baby. That would be nice, man. Real talk. And also, real talk, while we're doing this on Memorial Day Eve, and I would be remiss to not talk about the fact that, like, Memorial Day was brought to us by Black Union soldiers. It was Black Union soldiers that gave us our first Memorial Day here in the United States of America, and I don't think that gets talked about enough, right? And shout out to all of the Black veterans who have fought for this nation, who have shed blood for this nation, who have lost their lives on behalf of this nation, and you didn't get the respect that you so rightfully deserve, man. And so when we talk about America being the greatest country in the world, and we talk about respect for the troops and things like that, we really mean that when you were talking about the respect for all of the troops who went over there and put their lives on the line on behalf of us, and fighting for conflicts that even though we may not necessarily agree with said conflicts, but they went on there because that was a mission that they believed in. So, man, that's it. That's our Champ of the Week. It is time for us to get on up out of here. But of course, before we do, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Spann Report Podcast and let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave those voicemail messages, and of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to. And kind of, if you're watching this here live, man, call into the show, man. Talk some shit with your man. We can do that. You know what I'm saying? We can do that. So go ahead, hit up that hotline, area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails. And of course, those emails we get right here and reply to here live on the show as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, hit up our website at www.thespannreport.com. You can go there, watch replays of the show, vote in the polls when we put those polls up. You can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like, and we really appreciate every dime over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network. And become a Patreon patron, because those Patreon patrons are the ones who allow for us to do this show here live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Periscope, and on Twitch. So we really appreciate them. They are really the MVPs of this shit, man. Real talk. And it is time for us to go. I've been running my mouth for almost 2 hours, a little bit over 2 hours, man. My damn voice is tired. I've been running my mouth for a long time. So, yeah, man, I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.